Chapter 424. Heavenly Palace City, Itsuka's house. From the outside, Itsuka's house looks no different from an ordinary building. At night, the faint light from the windows illuminates the walls of the house, making it seem so peaceful. However, this tranquility was quickly interrupted by a muffled sound. Boom. Following this almost imperceptible muffled sound, a soft scream was emitted from one of the windows, accompanied by the sound of something heavily falling to the ground. In one of the rooms, Wu Yan covered one of his eyes as he laid on the floor. The pain from his eye socket isn't that great, but it made Wu Yan's tears flow down in an instant. He bounced up from the floor and looked at Kotori, who is standing in front of him with her head lowered and black smoke coming out of her body. Wu Yan's body involuntarily moved back. He's filled with regret. As the saying goes, a wise man is bound to make a mistake. I shouldn't have been so complacent that I thought I had Kotori in my grasp that I forgot about what might happen next. Why didn't I think that Kotori would come after me? At the crucial moment he made a mistake and left the ribbon behind. If he knew this would happen, he would have taken it with him. Kotori, have mercy. He placed one hand in front of his body as if he can't get close to Kotori. The other hand rubbed his eye. Wu Yan has no doubt that if it weren't for True Ancestor's amazing recovery ability, Kotori's punch would have given him a black eye. Ha, have mercy. Kotori laughed mockingly. She stepped forward and looked down at Wu Yan. The dangerous glint in her eyes made Wu Yan tremble and his body take a step back. Her face is still a little red. People who don't know her would think of Pian Pian. Kotori glared at Wu Yan with her red eyes and said gloomily, "Why didn't you show mercy? How dare you do such a thing? Death penalty. You will be sentenced to death." Kotori raised her fist again. Wu Yan quickly shouted, "Kotori, you can't murder your husband." Husband? Kotori's body trembled, her gloomy and flushed face contorted. If she wasn't afraid of attracting Shiori's attention, she would have gone berserk. How dare you mention it? Kotori's hateful voice seemed to come from the depths of hell. Wu Yan shrunk his neck, but he quickly argued, "You said it yourself. What, is our commander going back on her word?" The shameless debate caused Kotori to lower her head. Her bangs covered her expression, making it impossible to see what's going on inside. However, the atmosphere in the room felt like a storm is about to come. Wu Yan's heart started pounding. Kotori. Ah, that's right, I did say I would marry you. Kotori suddenly looked up, her face expressionless. Since I said it, I won't go back on my word. Before Wu Yan can feel happy, Kotori's expressionless face turned cold. She chuckled and she continued, emphasizing each and every one of her words. Only if lives become an adult. Gulping his saliva, Wu Yan forced out a laugh. Then he blurted out something that made Kotori go berserk. Actually, you don't have to reach adulthood. Courting death. As soon as Kotori finished her sentence, black smoke erupted from her body. Her two ponytails swayed in the air like the tentacles of an octopus. Her red eyes turned blood red. Wu Yan's hair stood on end. You're courting death. Kotori reached behind her back and pulled out a sharp weapon that Wu Yan couldn't ignore. His heart almost stopped beating. A kitchen knife. Can dash you. You can't play with this thing. You can't play with it. Wu Yan said it in a pleading tone. He almost knelt down in front of Kotori. No man is immune to a kitchen knife, or more accurately, a hatchet. Even Wu Yan, who is a true ancestor, can't ignore this weapon even if he knows he can't die. If possible, Wu Yan would rather Kotori give him a good beating than see a hatchet. Girls in the 2D world have hearts that can turn black at any moment. Wu Yan didn't believe this saying before, but now he has no choice but to believe it. Kotori in front of him is one such example. Wu Yan's shameless words turned her into a hatchet goddess. Wu Yan can only hope that his words can soften Kotori's heart a bit. However, Wu Yan was disappointed. Kotori only smiled coldly. Wu Yan was shocked. She swung the kitchen knife at Wu Yan, aiming at Wu Yan's crotch. This time Wu Yan was scared out of his wits. Wu Yan's nerves tensed up as he watched the kitchen knife coming at his crotch. He moved his legs to the left and right at the fastest speed in his life, narrowly dodging the knife. The kitchen knife didn't slow down and pierced Wu Yan's crotch. Wu Yan looked at the kitchen knife that was less than a centimeter away from his crotch. Cold sweat dripped down his forehead, soaking the hair in front of his forehead. However, none of this is important. Even if all his hair falls out, it's not as important as his happy life. Kotori, are you serious? Wu Yan shouted. However, this didn't scare Kotori. Instead, it made her laugh. You have the guts to do something so shameless, but you don't have the guts to face the consequences. How can there be such a good thing? The hand holding the kitchen knife twitched as if trying to pull the knife out of the floor and end Wu Yan's blissful life. The cold gleam of the kitchen knife pierced Wu Yan's little brother, who was less than a centimeter away from the knife. Wu Yan's cold sweat turned into a waterfall as he yelled and jumped up from the floor. Stomping on the bed, he leaped over Kotori. The moment his feet touched the ground, he ran out of the room without looking back. He disappeared without a trace. Stop right there! Kotori shouted angrily. She pulled out the kitchen knife and chased after him with murderous intent. Where can I hide? 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 Wu Yan ran down the hallway while muttering in fear. He looked left and right, trying to find a place to hide from the knife. Wu Yan has subconsciously forgotten that his combat power isn't something a sealed Kotori can compare to. Wu Yan didn't want to take Kotori's knife. If it was any other part of his body, he would accept it. However, Kotori is aiming at a place he can't afford to lose. Even if a true ancestor can heal such a small injury in a short time, Wu Yan can't guarantee that he won't be traumatized. Shiori was taking a shower in the bathroom, so she didn't notice anything. As for Toka, she was rolling around happily because she got a comfortable bed and a room. Thus, a game of hide-and-seek began in Itsuka's house. Chapter 425. Wu Yan could feel Kotori chasing after him. She's not as fast as him, but she's following him in an orderly manner. She didn't give him any openings. Wu Yan wanted to cry but had no tears. Is there a tracking device on me? Is that how Kotori knows where I am? Itsuka's house is pretty big. Run outside. No, I can play around at home, but if I run outside, Kotori will be so angry that she might ignore me for the rest of my life. Hide. Where can I hide? The living room. Where could he hide his body without being discovered by Kotori? The fridge. If Kotori can find the kitchen knife, she can find the fridge. The bathroom. Shiori is taking a bath in there. Wu Yan doesn't want to have two blackened people. Is God trying to kill me? Wu Yan howled, but he didn't want to attract Kotori's attention, so he swallowed it back. Instead, tears flowed down his cheeks. When he passed by Toka's room, Wu Yan stopped in his tracks. His face lit up as he opened the door with lightning speed and hid inside. Shido. Toka, who was rolling around on the bed, was shocked to see Wu Yan barging in. She wanted to say something, but Wu Yan appeared in front of her and covered her mouth. He even made a shu gesture with his hand. Toka blinked her eyes in a daze. Then she nodded at Wu Yan with a serious expression, indicating that she got it. 10 Fragrances room fell into silence. The man and woman held their breaths with all their might, fearing that their breaths were too loud and might be heard by others. After an unknown amount of time, a series of messy and hurried footsteps could be heard from outside the door. It was not silent, but it was very fast. Due to the quiet environment, the two people in the room could hear it. Although the footsteps were soft, they were very powerful, showing the mood of the person who was walking at the moment. Wu Yan and Toka looked at each other. They didn't know what to do. Toka didn't know what was going on. She didn't know what was going on. Wu Yan, on the other hand, didn't know if Kotori left or not. Suddenly, Kotori's voice came from outside the door. Wu Yan and Toka jumped in fright when they heard her. Toka, is Shido inside? Toka didn't know what to do. She looked at Wu Yan with her amethyst eyes. She didn't know what to do. Her brain was overloaded and she almost fainted. Wu Yan panicked. His wine-red eyes spun rapidly as he tried to think of a solution. Wu Yan's eyes flashed and lightning flashed in front of his forehead. Toka's voice came out of his mouth. Shido? What's wrong with Shido? Toka's natural voice came out of Wu Yan's mouth. It's so lifelike that Toka was stunned. Kotori didn't recognize that the voice belonged to someone else. Shido did something terrible. So, Toka, if Shido is inside, you can't hide him. Toka's eyes widened when she heard Kotori. She looked at Wu Yan in shock. She didn't understand what Wu Yan meant by going overboard. Wu Yan could only laugh dryly at her. Something terrible? I don't understand, but Shido isn't here. Wu Yan said in Toka's voice. He almost got goosebumps. Toka, on the other hand, found it interesting. The door quieted down. Wu Yan had an ominous feeling. Bang! The door was violently flung open. Coterie appeared with a kitchen knife in her hand. Ah! 10 Incense, who was sitting on the bed, let out a small cry of surprise. Aside from the person involved, no one could guess what had happened. With 10 Incense's natural brain, she naturally couldn't guess anything. She sat on the bed with a very distressed expression. However, Wu Yan's figure was nowhere to be seen. She scanned the room with her red eyes. She didn't find Wu Yan. Coterie pursed her lips in disappointment. She then looked at Toka, who still hasn't reacted. Sorry, Toka. If you see Shido, remember to tell me. Coterie then closed the door and the room returned to its original state of silence. Toka's mouth opened and closed. Her eyes wandered for a while before she realized what happened. She opened the blanket. Wu Yan was lying there like a corpse. Shido. Toka shook Wu Yan's body. She shouted at Wu Yan like she saw a you. Shido. What's wrong? Why are you hiding? Why is Coterie-chan looking for you? Why? Stop. Wu Yan pressed down on Toka's shoulder. He didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Don't ask so many questions. Did you just realize I was hiding? Toka flinched and she nodded. Wu Yan felt a wave of weakness wash over him. Listen up, Toka. Wu Yan turned serious and he told Toka in a serious tone. Don't tell anyone about me hiding in your room, got it? Toka turned serious and she nodded again. However, Wu Yan didn't feel reassured at all. This natural glutton would probably forget everything in the next second. Toka giggled when she saw Wu Yan's embarrassed look. She looked at Wu Yan's face seriously before she said in a soft voice. Shido, thank you. Wu Yan was surprised. Why are you thanking me? Because. Toka leaned against the wall and looked up at the ceiling. Her purple eyes shined as if she was reminiscing about something. Because I'm very happy today. Looking at Toka's smiling face, Wu Yan felt a bit touched. He could still remember that less than half a day ago, there was no trace of a smile on this smiling face. There was only endless sorrow and despair. Wu Yan's lips curled up. He leaned against the wall and sat next to Toka. Actually. What? Toka's eyes narrowed as she laughed. She turned around to look at Wu Yan with a twinkle in her eyes. If Wu Yan can feel touched by Toka's face, Toka can feel the same way. After all, the person in front of her was the one who brought her warmth, her home, and her laughter. He was the one who saved her from that hellish life. Wu Yan smiled warmly when he met Toka's gaze. Actually, I'm very happy too. Toka was surprised and lowered her head. When she looked up again, her eyes were full of tears. Wu Yan was speechless. What are you doing? Didn't you say you were happy? Why do you look like you're about to cry again? Toka wiped her eyes and retorted, I'm not crying. You're obviously crying. I'm not. I'm not. Alright, it's fine if you don't. Slapping his cheeks, Wu Yan tapped his chin. He turned around and looked at Toka. Oh right, Toka, can you control Spacequake? Spacequake. Control Spacequake? Toka didn't understand. Why? I have something important to do. I need Spacequake to complete it. How about it? Can you do it? I haven't tried to control the Spacequake, but if it's just triggering the Spacequake, it's very easy. Then it's done. Wu Yan grinned. He glanced at the quest tab and he rubbed the sealing bracelet on his wrist. Then he grabbed Toka's hand. Toka, come help me. Toka tilted her head in confusion. Since it's Wu Yan's request, there's no reason for her to refuse. She nodded. Chapter 426. Early in the morning, the sky was overcast. There was no sunlight on the ground and the sun was nowhere to be seen. It could be seen that the weather today was cloudy and it didn't look good. This kind of weather was not good for those who planned to go out, but for those who stayed at home it was good weather. Because without the sun shining on their buttocks, it would be more comfortable to sleep in, right? In the past that would be the case. But now, even if you don't want to get up, someone will wake you up. The door opened and Coterie poked her head in. The white ribbons on her head moved back and forth like a rabbit's ears. She then looked at the bed. As expected, Coterie blushed when she saw Wu Yan snoring away in his sleep. She was also a bit annoyed by this. Due to the bathroom incident last night, Coterie tossed and turned the whole night. She wanted to sleep but couldn't. She finally fell asleep in the end. However, this brother of hers slept so comfortably that he almost had a bubble hanging above his nose. This made Kotori furious. She sneaked a glance at Wu Yan. Her expression fluctuated. Her blushing face showed a bit of timidity. She hesitated on whether she should wake Wu Yan up or not. If possible, Kotori would like to switch to her commander mode. After all, in sister mode, Kotori wouldn't be able to stand in front of Wu Yan after letting Wu Yan see her naked and say something so embarrassing. Even if she's in commander mode, she wouldn't have chased after Wu Yan for an entire night. Unfortunately, Shiori is still at home. Kotori has decided not to drag her into the fairy vortex. She doesn't want her sister to know that she has such a capable sister. Therefore, Kotori reluctantly used her sister mode to wake Wu Yan up. Kotori took a step into the room and retracted her hand. She blushed. She doesn't know how to face her Oni-chan. Kotori remembered Wu Yan telling her in her commander mode last night that she doesn't have to be a grown-up to do so. Plus, she almost lost her first kiss when she woke Wu Yan up. Kotori was worried. If she woke Oni-chan up like this, will he? She thought of something and blushed again. She held her cheeks with both hands and shook her head. After a long time, Kotori mustered up her courage and entered Wu Yan's room. She poked at Wu Yan's blanket and she tugged at it. She meekly called out, "Onian, it's time to wake up." Her weak voice, of course, couldn't wake up the sleeping demon. Kotori pouted and yelled, "Onian, wake up. Oni-chan is waiting for you to have dinner." Wu Yan shuddered when he heard Kotori's voice. He screamed and jumped up from the bed. Kotori cried out in shock. "Kotori, I know I was wrong. Don't chop me." Wu Yan yelled with tears in his eyes. Then he saw the speechless Kotori and stopped moving. Wu Yan looked at Kotori in shock. When he saw the white ribbon on Kotori's head, he sighed in relief. He laid down on the bed and he grumbled. "I say, Kotori, why did you scare me like that?" "Me?" Kotori pointed at her own nose in astonishment. He was completely baffled. She was only waking her brother up, not scaring him. He was scaring himself. Wu Yan noticed this and he awkwardly averted his gaze. Then he looked back at Kotori and he said in a serious tone, Kotori, can we discuss something?" What? Kotori looked away. She was too shy to look Wu Yan in the eye. Wu Yan looked at Kotori seriously. A second later, a fawning expression appeared on Wu Yan's face. "Kotori, can you discuss with your commander mode that you won't use a knife next time, okay? That's not good." Kotori was speechless. Tiangong City, Duralai Zen High School. Wu Yan and Shiori walked in the hallway towards the classroom. Toka was looking around curiously. Toka was wearing the same Duralai Zen High School uniform as Shiori. Of course, this was Kotori's doing. Shiori giggled at Toka, who is sucking on her finger as if it's her first time coming to school. She asked Wu Yan, "Shido, is Toka really going to go to the same school as us?" Yeah." Wu Yan nodded nonchalantly. He came up with the excuse he came up with earlier. "Toka's previous school is too far away from here, so it's better to transfer here." Shiori nodded and tilted her head. "Don't tell me Toka is going to be in the same class as us?" "Ma, we're in the same class, there's nothing wrong with that," Wu Yan said. Shiori gave him a dubious look. He felt helpless inside. From Shiori's point of view, maybe it's because she doesn't want to be separated from her girlfriend Toka, so she wants to be in the same class. She doesn't know that the reason Toka wants to be in the same class is because of her dear little sister. At this time, a figure walked out from the corner in front. She had white shoulder-length hair and an expressionless face. Who else could it be but Yuichi Origami? Tabichi Origami stopped in her tracks when she saw Shiori. Her expression turned serious when she saw Wu Yan. However, when she saw Toka, her calm expression changed. "Princess. You're..." Toka tilted her head and exclaimed, "Robot Army. Why are you here?" Toichi Origami stared at Toka. "You were the one who caused the spacetime quake yesterday. Where did you go after that? Why can't I detect your spirit energy anymore?" And Toichi Origami looked at Shiori and asked seriously, "Why are you with Shiori?" "Why should I tell you?" Originally, 10 Fragrance did not have a good impression of Origami Kite. After all, every time 10 Fragrance appeared in this world, the robot army in front of her would immediately come to kill her. It would be strange if she had a good impression of him. coupled with Origami Kite's questioning tone, 10 fragrance immediately pouted her small mouth. Toichi Origami looked at Wu Yan and Toka. Were you the ones who caused the spacetime quake last night? Toka pouted even harder. When she was about to say something, Wu Yan pulled her back and shook his head helplessly. He noticed a trace of fatigue on Toichi Origami's expressionless face. Combined with Toichi Origami's plain but obvious question, Wu Yan guessed what happened. It's probably because he used Toka's power to summon the spacetime quake last night that the AST that detected the spacetime quake was sent out. However, Wu Yan instantiated the spacetime quake as soon as it appeared. Toichi Origami woke up in the middle of the night and returned empty-handed. After that, Toka summoned a few spacetime quakes to replenish the 10 space orbs. Toka also woke up a few times. Hold on. Shiori frowned and said. What robot army? What spirit energy? Who is Princess? Why is Toka related to the spacetime quake? The three people who were confronting each other froze. Chapter 427. On a certain street in Heavenly Palace City, a figure is walking towards a certain direction. There are many bags hanging on his body, there are ingredients and clothes inside. Lifting the bag in his hand, he couldn't help but sigh. He couldn't help but grumble at Shiori. It's one thing if she wants him to buy groceries, it's not like he didn't buy groceries when he was Hinajika's butler in the Whirlwind Butler. But what's with asking him to buy clothes? Buying clothes is of course nothing, the problem is that these clothes are for Toka to wear. In other words, these clothes are for women and there are underwear inside. Wu Yan can still remember when he walked into the underwear store, the staff and customers looked at him strangely. If he didn't say that he's here to buy for his girlfriend, he might have been treated as a pervert. In fact, even if Wu Yan said that he's here to buy for his girlfriend, those people still looked at him with suspicion. Thus, Wu Yan, who has always been a thick-skinned person, didn't even last a minute under the watchful eyes of those people before he was completely defeated. He hurriedly picked up 2 random items and fled the store in a sorry state. It's embarrassing to the extreme. Thinking about the laughter that came from the underwear store when he ran away, Wu Yan's heart was filled with anger. She's clearly a girl, it's more convenient for her to buy these clothes. But soon this anger turned into helplessness. Who can be blamed? Who told them to talk about Spacequake and elves in front of Shirji, and then when she asked they still answered perfunctorily. It was understandable that Shirji would be resentful and want to prank them. Wu Yan only wants to say one thing, why is it that Toichi Origami and Toka are the same as him, but he's the only one who gets revenge in the end? It's fortunate that Toichi Origami didn't expose Toka's identity, otherwise explaining is secondary. The most important thing is that with Shiori's love for Kotori, she'll definitely step forward if she knows what Kotori has been doing. At that time, Kotori's thoughts of keeping her sister out of this will turn to ashes. Perhaps, Tabichi Origami was the same as Kotori. They didn't want Shiori to be involved in such a dangerous matter. After all, the elves were very powerful. Even if they were caught in the crossfire, they could still kill people. In the original work, Kotori was only willing to let Shiori go because he had Kotori's power and was immortal. But in this world, if I'm not wrong, Kotori's power isn't sealed in Shiori's body, it's sealed in my own body. In other words, it's sealed by the sealing ring. In other words, Shiori doesn't have the power of immortality in the original work. Under such circumstances, Kotori can't bear to let Shiori be the front line against the elves. Wu Yan guessed that Toichi Origami, who's most likely a Yuri woman, wouldn't want Shiori to know about this. Wu Yan has a big question about Kotori's elven power being sealed by the sealing ring. It's not the origin of the sealing ring, or when Kotori put it on. Wu Yan has already decided to take things as they come, so he won't worry about it. What Wu Yan really cares about is the system's mission panel. Dungeon World, Date Battle, Dungeon Mission, Collect. Mission 1. Materialize all the spatial quakes around the world and collect them. Current progress, 1010 completed. Mission reward, equipment points, item points, ability points, summoning points 50,000 each. Mission 2. Use the sealing ring to seal the elven powers of storyline characters Toka Yoshino, Tokasaki Kurumi and Itsuka Kotori. Mission reward, any 2B grade and below equipment will be upgraded by 1 grade, B grade and Gate of Babylon excluded. Mission 3, yet to be activated. Last night with the help of Toka's power, Wu Yan successfully collected the Space Orb. With the completion of the first mission, the second mission was activated. Helping 4 storyline characters seal the elves' powers is just nice. It's another goal he's working on, so there's no conflict. However, last night when the second mission was activated, Wu Yan stared at it for a long time. To be precise, he stared at Itsuka Kotori's name for a long time. When the second dungeon mission was activated, one of the names of the 4 elves was lit up. It was Night Sword God Toka. However, even though Kotori had sealed her power, her name did not light up. Could it be that Kotori's power wasn't sealed by the sealing ring? Then why did Kotori wear a sealing ring for no reason? Because it looks good? That's impossible. The mysterious appearance of the sealing bracelet and this strange dungeon mission too made Wu Yan think about the origin of Kotori's sealing bracelet. Now he has a clear idea of where Kotori's sealing bracelet came from. Of course, guesses were just guesses. As for what the real situation was, it was still the same sentence. If he continued to stay in this world, he would definitely find the answer. Well, I've only sealed one of the 4 elves. Even if I eliminate Kotori, there are still 2 more. One of them is easy to deal with, but the other one won't be so easy. Once I solve the other 3, I should have an answer to Kotori's question. Walking on the street, Wu Yan couldn't help but smile. But when he saw the bag in his hand, he sighed. Lingerie stores and whatnot, even though it's said to be a place of welfare for the people of this generation, it's also stressful. He really can't understand why the original protagonists didn't enjoy the same treatment as him when they entered a lingerie store. Suddenly, Wu Yan felt a sense of danger. Wu Yan stopped in his tracks. His wine-red eyes flashed and he turned to look in a certain direction. Wu Yan heard a slight noise. At the same time, Wu Yan saw a tiny black dot coming towards him. It's a gunshot. The black dot is a bullet. In Wu Yan's vision, time seemed to slow down. The bullet coming from afar also slowed down. When the bullet arrived in front of Wu Yan's eyes, Wu Yan finally tilted his head. Bang! As Wu Yan tilted his head, the bullet grazed the corner of Wu Yan's eye and hit the ground behind Wu Yan. After a muffled sound, a hole was blasted into the ground. What a powerful weapon. It's definitely a weapon against elves. He glanced at the crater behind him. His wine-red eyes flashed like 2 lightning bolts as he looked at a faraway hill. There was a person aiming a sniper rifle at him. It was obvious that the bullet just now was the other party's handiwork. With Wu Yan's vision, even though he was far away from the hill, Wu Yan could still see the figure on the hill. Wu Yan narrowed his eyes and looked at the hill. The figure did not retreat after the first shot failed. Instead, it was preparing to fire a second shot. He frowned. With the power of that sniper rifle, it was definitely not something an ordinary organization could possess. The equipment worn by the other party clearly indicated the identity of the attacker. It was S. However, weren't FESI members only female? If Wu Yan was not mistaken, the figure that attacked him should be a man. After pondering for a while, Wu Yan suddenly smiled. A male? Could it be the direct subordinate of the AST higher-ups? If so, then you won't be leaving today. Chapter 428. On top of a small hill, a person wearing equipment that was slightly different from AST's but similar in style was lying on a lower ground that was hard to notice. He was holding a sniper rifle in his hand and leaning on the sniper rifle's scope. He was aiming at something. From the scope of the sniper rifle, the person can clearly see Wu Yan nimbly dodging his bullet. He even raised his head and looked at him with a gentle smile. I've been discovered. Looking at Wu Yan's smile through the scope, the sniper couldn't help but be shocked. A trace of nervousness appeared on his face. After all, this place is at least 500 meters away from the place he was aiming at. But the opponent actually discovered him in an instant and even accurately pinpointed his position. However, the sniper quickly calmed down. No matter what, he was still a soldier who had received formal training. Moreover, he was assigned to the position of a sniper. If his psychological quality was not good, he would not have been sent out. Pressing the radio in his ear, the sniper said in a deep voice, "Point A sniper failed." Not long after the sniper's voice fell, a series of continuous reports rang out from the radio in his ear. Point B aimed. Point C aimed. Point D ready. After these voices rang out, a voice that clearly has a tone of command, it seems to be the voice of the leader of these people. Point A, Point B, Point C, Point D snipe at the same time. Along with this voice, for very subtle sounds of reloading could be heard from the other side of the earpiece. Under the scope of 4 sniper rifles, Wu Yan frowned and then relaxed. Feeling the initial warning coming from one direction change to 4, Wu Yan couldn't help but lick his lips. Those snipers are scattered all over the place. This is a bit troublesome. Although he said it was troublesome, his face didn't show any signs of trouble. Wu Yan glanced at the 4 positions where the warning came from and chuckled softly. Take them out one by one. Wu Yan's chuckle was naturally seen by the 4 snipers under the scope. Immediately, the 4 sniper rifles in their hands pressed down on Wu Yan. 4 bullets basically sealed off all of Wu Yan's escape routes. The 4 snipers were full of confidence in their attacks. In this situation, even if the opponent is a powerful elf, there is no way she can avoid this round of coordinated attacks. So much so that they didn't even consider that there is no way to avoid their attacks. But who said that they have to dodge? Bang! When the 4 bullets were about to enter the target's body, the 4 snipers saw a surge of red lotus flames suddenly burning from the target's body. The 4 bullets didn't even have time to touch Wu Yan's body before they were directly engulfed by the flames and turned into gas. What? Seeing the image on the sniper rifle's scope, the 4 snipers in different positions shouted in unison. Sometimes the greater the hope, the greater the disappointment. This was the situation. What's wrong? The voice of the leader who ordered the 4 snipers to snipe came from the headset, finally letting the 4 snipers understand the situation they are in. Captain. Snipe at point A failed again. Please give instructions. Captain. Snipe at point B failed. Please give instructions. Captain. Snipe at point C failed. Please give instructions. Captain. Snipe at point D failed. Please give instructions. Listening to the report in the wireless headset, the voice of the person who was called the captain had a trace of gloominess. Snipe failed again? Suddenly, in the sight of the 4 snipers and the captain of the sniper team, a red lotus flame pillar rushed into the sky, as if it was going to burn the entire sky into ashes. Endless heat was emitted from it and there was a trace of heat in the air. What's going on? The pillar of fire from the red lotus slowly burned. Soon after, the pillar of fire decreased at a speed visible to the naked eye. When the pillar of fire completely disappeared from the sight of the 5 people, a figure with a fiery glow shot out from where the pillar of fire was and disappeared on a small mountain slope. That small hill was the one where the sniper who first sniped Wu Yan was at. The leader of the sniper team turned pale with fright. He hurriedly pressed the earpiece and wanted to shout something into it. However, a scream came out of the earpiece first, causing the leader of the sniper team and the remaining 3 snipers to be extremely shocked. Wait, what's going on? Wait, the leader of the sniper team was full of hope, hoping to hear the sniper at point A's location reply. There was a rustling sound in his earpiece and then a reply indeed appeared. However, this reply was another scream. Hey, what's going on? Unfortunately, the sniper team leader's answer was a scream. The sniper team leader's face turned pale. That was because the 3 screams were different from each other. Soon the last scream also sounded in the wireless headset of the sniper team captain. After this scream, the only sound that could be heard in the entire wireless headset was the rustling sound. Damn it! In a small alley, a middle-aged man wearing a bulletproof vest smashed the wireless headset in his ear to the ground, shattering it immediately. The sniper team captain's face was gloomy and he was panting heavily. One could imagine how annoyed he was at this moment. Mission failed. The sniper team captain gritted his teeth and snorted coldly, a pair of sinister eyes looking in the direction of the red lotus flame pillar just now, and said hatefully, "Damn elves. Don't think that it's over. Even if there's no elves, don't think that we'll let you run around in our territory sooner or later. What about one day?" The sniper team captain's pupils shrank and his face changed greatly. He raised his head abruptly and looked in the direction of the voice, then his face turned completely pale. In the sky not far in front of him, a figure was floating there, a pair of wine-red eyes staring at him with a faint smile, and the figure was holding 4 people he was very familiar with. The sniper team captain's pupils slowly shrank to the size of a needle. He looked up at the floating figure and his 4 subordinates in the figure's hands, and an inexplicable sense of oppression came from the figure, pressing down on him, causing the sniper team captain's body to start trembling. Bang! 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 Seeing his 4 subordinates being thrown to the ground, The sound of their bodies hitting the ground was like a heavy hammer hitting the sniper team captain's heart. The sniper team captain's palms were sweaty, and he subconsciously took a few steps back. Wu Yan glanced at the sniper team captain, and his body slowly floated down and stood on the ground. "You're from the AST, right?" The sniper team captain clenched his fist and forced himself to calm down. He took a few deep breaths and looked at Wu Yan, but there was a trace of fear in his eyes. Seeing this, Wu Yan shook his head and smiled contemptuously. "What's wrong? Is this your first time seeing elves? Or are you afraid because all your subordinates have fallen?" Raising his foot, he walked towards the sniper squad leader. The sniper squad leader followed Wu Yan's movement and took a step back. His body started shaking violently. Seeing this, the contempt in Wu Yan's eyes intensified. "Afraid just like this? Looks like the lackeys raised by the upper echelons of AST are all trash. The troops directly under the upper echelons can't even compare to the normal members of AST in battle. Even their mental fortitude is so bad. No wonder the ones fighting against the elves are the female members. The men of AST are really living like dogs." Chapter 429. Scared just like that? Looks like the lackeys raised by the upper echelons of AST are all trash. The troops directly under the upper echelons can't even compare to the normal members of AST. Even their mental fortitude is so bad. No wonder the ones fighting against the elves are the female members. The men of AST have really wasted their lives. The sniper team leader was furious when he heard Wu Yan's words. The fear on his face turned into anger. A vein popped out on his forehead. His reaction made Wu Yan turn his head away. He looked down on the sniper team leader a little, keeping a poker face. Such a requirement might be a bit too much for a sniper team leader under the direct command of AST, but in a situation where he could be killed at any time, he actually showed his emotions on his face because of the enemy's words. Didn't he know that it would be easy for him to be caught or killed by the enemy if he did so? If the upper beam is not straight, the lower beam will be crooked. With how arrogant the higher-ups of AST were, how good could their subordinates be? At this moment, Wu Yan suddenly felt bad for Origami and the other AST girls. Not only did they have to fight on the battlefield, they even had to work under these people. He really didn't know what kind of sins they committed in their past lives. No wonder the AST team leader was so angry that she almost went through menopause. Seeing Wu Yan's disdainful expression, the sniper team leader was even angrier. However, he didn't dare to say anything. Even if he didn't know the current situation, he knew that angering the other party wouldn't do him any good. "You. How do you know about AST and where I belong?" The sniper team leader was secretly shocked. As far as he knew, each of the elves had a serious lack of knowledge about this world. Unlike the elves in front of him, not only did they call him he directly, but they even knew about the higher-ups directly. Little did he know that Wu Yan isn't an elf. AST's attitude towards elves is different from Ratatoskers. That's why AST's information is second only to elves and Ratatosker. Wu Yan hasn't been in this world for long, but as the combat commander of Ratatosker, if he doesn't know about his old rival, Coterie will cook him alive. Of course, Wu Yan wouldn't tell this to the sniper team leader. Wu Yan pursed his lips and ignored the sniper team leader's question. He walked past the 4 snipers and headed towards the sniper team leader. "Tell me." Staring at the sniper squad leader who is moving back and forth with him, Wu Yan asked in a low voice. "Why do you want to kill me? I don't have any elven energy on me." The sniper captain started sweating as he backed away. He didn't pay attention to Wu Yan's words. Maybe he didn't want to say it, or maybe he didn't hear it due to fear. Wu Yan's wine-red eyes flashed with a sharp glint. "Tell me." The cold voice caused the leader of the sniper team to stumble and fall on his butt. His face was full of fear as he cried out, "I don't know. I don't know anything." Wu Yan stopped in his tracks when he saw the sniper squad leader's unbearable behavior. He frowned with a look of disgust on his face. Looks like he had overestimated them before. Are all the men in AST like this? If they are, they would have sent the girls into battle. "I don't know." Wu Yan sneered. "Then let's change the question. Did you send other troops to kill other elfins other than me?" Wu Yan didn't expect the sniper squad leader to say something he didn't expect. "Are there other elves who don't have elf waves living here? You don't know." Wu Yan looked at the sniper squad leader in surprise. He lowered his head when he saw the genuine look of bewilderment on the sniper squad leader's face and started thinking. The sniper team leader didn't say the reason why AST came to kill him, but Wu Yan could more or less guess. Originally, AST was established to kill elves. The existence of elves would bring a great disaster to this world. Even without the spacecrafts, their powerful strength was enough to make humans fear them. Now the fact that he didn't have elf waves on him must have been known by AST. However, without elf waves he wasn't an elf. Other elves might not be, but Wu Yan is. He's not an elf. The spacecrafts were an accident. Coterie and Ratatosker didn't believe Wu Yan's words back then. The people of AST didn't believe him either. That's why even if a nuclear bomb is frozen, it's still a nuclear bomb. Its destructive power won't disappear even if it's frozen. Similarly, an elf would still be an elf even if she didn't have any elven energy waves. Just like a nuclear bomb, no one would be able to stand by and watch a nuclear bomb walk around in their own home. Even Ratatosker wasn't as cruel to the elves as AST, but he still kept a close eye on them. Wasn't Coterie the one who was keeping an eye on Toko when she was staying at Itsuka's house? Wu Yan bitterly laughed. The original work sure is a scam. The elves are roaming around inside, but the AST people didn't do anything. Wu Yan subconsciously thought that the AST people wouldn't attack the elves with their powers sealed away because of the absence of the elves' energy waves. Based on the current situation, it's not that AST didn't want to make a move, it's just that they didn't know about the sealed elves living here. Wu Yan frowned when he thought of this. He's very confused about this. It didn't make sense. It was impossible for ST to not know that there was an elf living here. Other things aside, Kite Origami had seen 10 fragrances with his own eyes. With Kite Origami's personality, such an important matter would definitely be reported. So why exactly? Is there something else going on? The sniper squad leader looked at Wu Yan, who was deep in thought. The fear on his face disappeared and was replaced by a ruthless expression. He quietly reached his hand behind him. The moment the sniper squad leader reached behind him, he felt a chill coming from his chest. It was as if he lost something. The sniper squad leader was at a loss. The sniper team leader lowered his head and looked at his chest, which had become cool. The next moment his eyes widened to the maximum. His face was filled with disbelief. On his chest there was a hand, but the entire hand was gone. That's because the hand is inside his body. I didn't want to kill you so quickly, you're the one who asked for it. A faint voice came from the sniper squad leader. He raised his head with difficulty. A pair of wine-red eyes with a cold glint appeared in his vision. The sniper squad leader wanted to say something, but when he opened his mouth, nothing came out. All he got was a cold smile from Wu Yan. He slowly pulled out the hand from his body. Fresh blood dripped from Wu Yan's hand and sprayed out from the sniper squad leader's chest like a fountain. It sprayed out in front of Wu Yan and sprinkled on his body. However, not a single drop of blood touched his body. Instead, it dripped down like water droplets. The intense pain finally reached the head of the sniper team leader. The scene in front of him began to blur. At this time, the sniper team leader realized that his 4 subordinates were in the same situation as him. Their chests were pierced and fresh blood flowed all over the ground beneath them. Chapter 430. Following the sound of the sniper team leader falling to the ground, the small alley fell into complete silence. However, no one could ignore the scene that unfolded before their very eyes. The 5 of them fell to the ground in different postures. There was a bloody hole in each of their chests. Blood kept flowing out of the holes. It was as if there were 5 blood fountains coming out of the ground. The ground was dyed in red. Under such a scene, a person stood in the middle of the 5 corpses. Blood flowed from his body, but his clothes were not stained by a single drop of blood. The blood flowed down like a leaf and dripped onto the ground. Similarly, there was a hand. After a long while, a faint sigh was finally heard from this bloody scene. The only figure standing had broken the silence of this place. Raising his hand and looking at the blood flowing on it, Wu Yan's wine-red eyes flashed with a golden glow. Although the urge to suck blood has been eliminated, a vampire is still a vampire. I can't help but want to suck in a mouthful of blood. Wu Yan smacked his lips and shook his head with a smile. He waved his hand and shook off all the blood on his hand. What a pity. Such filthy blood definitely doesn't taste good. Just as Wu Yan was about to turn around and go home, a sweet voice with a hint of laughter sounded behind him. I also agree with this little brother's words. The voice made Wu Yan's wine-red eyes tremble. He was a little surprised. Someone actually came here and approached him without him noticing. Wu Yan's face became serious. His wine-red eyes flashed with a golden glow again. Then he slowly turned around and looked at the entrance of the alley. However, when Wu Yan saw clearly who it was, the seriousness on his face disappeared and was replaced by a deep shock. It was a very beautiful girl. She had long black hair tied into 2 long braids that stretched in front of her chest. She had bangs on her forehead, but the length was completely different. The left bangs were very long, so long that it covered her entire left eye. The remaining right eye was wine red like Wu Yan's. Her skin was white and translucent. It shone with a faint luster like a pearl. Even in the alley where the light was a little dim, one could clearly see the luster of her skin. At this moment, the girl was standing at the entrance of the alley. Her only exposed eye was looking at the corpses and blood on the ground. She didn't scream like a normal girl would. Instead, she excitedly licked her lips. Staring at the corpses and blood, the girl's eyes slightly curved into a crescent shape. In an instant, she retracted her gaze. It was as if the corpses weren't humans but pigs. What flowed wasn't blood but water. It was as if the corpses on the ground were her food. Compared to Wu Yan, she was more like a vampire. However, it was clear that the girl was more interested in Wu Yan than the food on the ground. Her wine-red eyes were filled with interest as she squinted at Wu Yan. She looked like a quiet young lady. Her movements were elegant and very cultured. Looking at the girl who is sizing him up with interest, Wu Yan's astonished expression slowly turned into one of not knowing whether to laugh or cry. That's because this girl is someone he knows. It's just that the other party doesn't know who he is. Tokisaki Kurumi. In the original work, it identified a sprite named Nightmare. It was also a fairy that descended earlier than the 10 fragrances, but only appeared later. And now she had appeared in front of him. Tokisaki Kurumi tilted her head and smiled. An elegant young lady aura emanated from her body. Since she descended earlier than Toka, she came into contact with this world earlier. Therefore, Tokisaki Kurumi's knowledge and etiquette of this world can be said to be very rich. Tokisaki Kurumi acted as if she didn't see the corpses on the ground. She raised her foot and walked over the corpses on the ground. Stepping on the blood, she walked towards Wu Yan. "Ah la la, I didn't expect that I would see such an interesting scene when I was just curious as to why there would be a fire pillar in this place." Tokisaki Kurumi placed her hands in front of her and smiled at Wu Yan. Her delicate and beautiful face coupled with her outstanding temperament made her a beautiful flower. However, the words that came out of her mouth made this flower look like it was plated with a layer of blood. His wine-red eyes met with Tokisaki Kurumi's. Wu Yan didn't show any expression on his face, but he bitterly smiled in his heart. He knew that he encountered the most troublesome fairy to deal with. One had to know that this elegant elven lady in front of him was known as a nightmare. Of course, Nightmare was only a superficial name. Tokisaki Kurumi had another title, and that was the most lustful elf. The descent of a fairy will cause a space-time quake and bring about a catastrophe in this world. Wu Yan didn't know how many people have died under the terrifying destructive power of the space-time quake. However, Wu Yan knew that Tokisaki Kurumi didn't use the power of the space-time quake. She killed more than 10,000 humans with her bare hands. Therefore, don't think that Tokisaki Kurumi was joking. This scene was enough to make people tremble in fear, but in Tokisaki Kurumi's eyes, it was nothing. This was because in her daily life such scenes were common. Tokisaki Kurumi didn't think much of it. She was already used to such scenes. Logically speaking, even if Wu Yan doesn't reject such a lustful being, he wouldn't take the initiative to approach her. Even if his second dungeon mission requires him to seal her power, Wu Yan would rather not do it. However, Tokisaki Kurumi is an exception. Others only know that Tokisaki Kurumi is a lustful fairy who killed more than 10,000 humans with her bare hands. There's no evil she wouldn't commit. However, all of this is just her disguise. Looking at the elegant Tokisaki Kurumi, Wu Yan sighed in his heart. This is probably the most difficult fairy to capture. If he doesn't do it well, he might not be able to do it in his entire life. To seal her power and complete his second dungeon mission. To be honest, Wu Yan isn't confident. What's wrong? Tokisaki Kurumi looked at the silent Wu Yan. She thought he was frightened by her appearance and the word's trend. Wu Yan raised his head and frowned. Aren't you afraid? Afraid. Tokisaki Kurumi laughed and said meaningfully. Little bro, do you think all girls are afraid of blood? Tokisaki Kurumi didn't let Wu Yan answer as she continued. Then little bro, I will have to disappoint you. I, on the other hand, am not afraid of blood. In fact, I like it very much. Also, Tokisaki Kurumi closed her eyes and she stood on her tiptoes. She looked like a little girl waiting to be kissed by her lover. She had a bashful look on her face as she told Wu Yan in an intoxicated tone. Little bro, there's a nice smell on you. Tokisaki Kurumi abruptly opened her eyes. Her originally delicate and elegant face instantly turned a little lustful. She licked her lips and laughed loudly. Ha, ha. It smells so nice, it whetted my appetite. Wu Yan's expression changed. He stomped heavily on the ground and retreated. At the same time, a few pale arms drilled out from the ground and wrapped around Wu Yan. They brushed past Wu Yan's retreating body. Chapter 431. Tokisaki Kurumi is very happy, so happy that she's going crazy. Every elf has a spiritual equipment and an angel. For example, Toka's spiritual equipment is the amethyst-like armor, Kemui's spiritual equipment 10 times. Her angel is the great sword, Sandalphon. Tokisaki Kurumi is the same. As an elf, she also has a spiritual equipment called Kemui's spiritual equipment 3 times and an angel called Zafkiel. The Zafkiel's body was a huge clock. The long and short hands of the clock were an ancient rifle and an ancient pistol respectively. The ability of the Zafkiel was to turn the ability of time into bullets for the 2 guns. By firing the bullets it could control time. Simply put, Tokisaki Kurumi is an elf who can use the power of time. In other words, she's an elf of time. The ability to control time is without a doubt a very powerful ability. Can even be said that it's at the highest level of all abilities. From a certain point of view, the ability to control time is incomparable to Accelerator's ability. With such a powerful angel, it's easy to imagine Tokisaki Kurumi's strength. Unfortunately, such a powerful ability comes with a huge price. Since the Zafkiel is too powerful, there's a corresponding price to pay to use such a powerful ability. Every time Tokisaki Kurumi uses the Zafkiel, she has to consume her own time. In other words, she has to sacrifice her own lifespan to use the Zafkiel. In order to not exhaust her time by using the Zafkiel, Tokisaki Kurumi consumes the lives of others to replace the time she needs to use the Zafkiel. As long as someone is within the range of time eclipse, Tokisaki Kurumi will forcibly steal their time and store it as the price for using the Zafkiel. Every number on Tokisaki Kurumi's Zafkiel represents a type of time ability. Depending on the type of time ability used, the price to use it is different. The bullet of 12 is the most expensive. Just one shot will consume the life of an elf. That's why Tokisaki Kurumi has never used the bullet of 12 before. In fact, the reason why Tokisaki Kurumi kills people is to obtain more lifespan so that he can activate the bullet of 12. He will return to 30 years ago and kill the first descending elf to fulfill his sorrowful wish of erasing the existence of the elves. This way the elves won't be enemies with humans. The elves won't be hunted down and humans won't suffer heavy casualties due to the space-time quake. However, the cost of using the bullet of 12 is the life force of an elf. If Toshizaki Kurumi used it recklessly, even if she didn't die on the spot, she would become extremely weak and unable to achieve her goal. Therefore, in the original work, Toshizaki Kurumi wanted to devour Itsuka Shido, who had the power of 3 elves sealed within his body. But now, Itsuka Shido no longer exists in this world. There's only Wu Yan and Itsuka Shiori who were given the name Itsuka Shido by Kotori. Itsuka Shiori also has the ability to seal elves. But in this world, Itsuka Shiori is no longer the one chosen by Ratatoskr to talk to the elves. She doesn't even have the power of 1 elf, let alone 3. Without Itsuka Shido in the original work, Tokisaki Kurumi has no way to achieve her goal quickly. She can only consume the lives of humans slowly until the day she can use the bullet of 12. This was Tokisaki Kurumi's original plan. But now this plan is no longer necessary. The reason is Tokisaki Kurumi. Wu Yan, who just killed 5 humans, possesses immense power. As a spirit of time, Tokisaki Kurumi might need to pay a price to use the Zafkiel Emperor, but it doesn't change the fact that she can use the power of time. Tokisaki Kurumi can use the power of time and can store time by devouring the lives of others. Naturally, she can also sense how much time others have. That's why Tokisaki Kurumi was so excited that she attacked Wu Yan without saying much. She can sense that the man in front of her has unlimited time. Limitless life. In other words, this man's life was limitless. Even if humanity is destroyed, the man in front of her can still live. Even if life is destroyed, the man in front of her can still live. Even if the world is destroyed, the man in front of her can still live because his time is unlimited. What does this mean? This meant that as long as Tokisaki Kurumi devoured the man in front of her, she would have unlimited time. She would be able to use Zafkiel and Bullet of 12 whenever she wanted. She would be able to go back to 30 years ago whenever she wanted. Her ability to control time would no longer be flawed. To Tokisaki Kurumi, Wu Yan is the most attractive existence in the world. Tokisaki Kurumi was overjoyed. She was truly overjoyed. Whenever she thought about how she could achieve her goal by devouring the man in front of her, Tokisaki Kurumi could no longer calm down. Even Wu Yan doesn't know the reason for this. He thought that Tokisaki Kurumi attacked him to pay the price for using Zafkiel. Who would have thought that his unlimited time as a true ancestor attracted such a troublesome enemy? After stabilizing himself, Wu Yan frowned as he looked at the pale arms on the ground where he was standing. If possible, Wu Yan wouldn't want to go up against Tokisaki Kurumi. Tokisaki Kurumi may be a bit of a psychopath, but she's still a kind-hearted person. At the very least, a true human elf wouldn't want to stop the source of all this. Tokisaki Kurumi once said in the original work that Tokisaki Kurumi is no different from her. In the original work, if Tokisaki Kurumi wasn't saved by Wu Yan, she would have become like Tokisaki Kurumi sooner or later. She would have killed for fun. At the end of the day, Wu Yan has the same thoughts as Tokisaki Kurumi. Every elf is a kind existence. Just the fact that Tokisaki Kurumi likes small animals is enough to prove that she has a kind heart. It's just that the humans have been hostile towards the elves for a long time. That's why Tokisaki Kurumi turned into her current state, treating humans as her food. Tokisaki Kurumi's heart was completely broken. That's why Wu Yan doesn't want to fight Tokisaki Kurumi. Of course, this is because Wu Yan doesn't know how important he is to Tokisaki Kurumi. It's even more important than how much Tokisaki Kurumi covets Tokisaki Kurumi in the original work. Tokisaki Kurumi won't miss out on Wu Yan's unlimited time. Under Wu Yan's gaze, Tokisaki Kurumi slowly raised her hand. Her body shook slightly and a dark purple aura surged out of her body and enveloped her. At the same time, a gloomy aura spread throughout the small alley. Chapter 432. Dark purple energy swirled around Tokisaki Kurumi's body, forming a dark purple ribbon that danced around her. The black light undulated up and down as a sinister and dark aura surged out from Tokisaki Kurumi's body, enveloping the entire area. The sky looked like it was weeping as black rain began to fall. Wu Yan's wine-red pupils slowly constricted as the energy from Tokisaki Kurumi's body blew his clothes up. Wu Yan's heart slowly sank. He knew that Tokisaki Kurumi was serious this time. The dense dark purple energy swirled up into the sky, causing Tokisaki Kurumi's black noble dress to flutter. In the next moment, Tokisaki Kurumi's body moved and her clothes disappeared. A pure white body appeared in front of Wu Yan under the cover of the dark purple energy. In the next moment, Tokisaki Kurumi's body flashed with a dazzling light, illuminating the entire dark alley. When the light dimmed, Tokisaki Kurumi's appearance had changed completely. She was wearing a noble Gothic dress that reached all the way to her chest. Her fair and smooth shoulders were exposed to the air, making her look like two ivory sculptures. Only two straps supported the Gothic dress. She wore wrist gloves with her palms exposed, only covering her elbows. Above her palms, a large bow was tied around her abdomen. Black stockings covered her thighs and a pair of black high boots were on her feet. Her long black hair was tied into two ponytails of different sizes, and a pleated head ornament that looked like a headband was placed on her head. Lu Haiki's eyes drooped down and his wine-red right eye flashed with a strange light. Tokisaki Kurumi's left eye had also appeared, and it was a golden clock. Tokisaki Kurumi, level 75. At this moment the golden clock in Tokisaki Kurumi's left eye was spinning. It was like a pupil, staring straight at Wu Yan with a trace of impatience. The clock in the left eye represented Tokisaki Kurumi's time. If Tokisaki Kurumi gets her hands on Wu Yan, the time inside the golden eye of the clock will come to a complete stop. Therefore, Tokisaki Kurumi's gaze towards Wu Yan was filled with passion and greed. She was like a hungry wolf looking at the most delicious piece of meat in the world. Wu Yan frowned deeply. His wine-red eyes flashed with dissatisfaction and anger. Wu Yan really didn't like the way she looked at him like he's food. He's also very dissatisfied with that look. Tokisaki Kurumi saw the dissatisfaction in Wu Yan's eyes. Her red and gold eyes flashed with surprise. Tokisaki Kurumi smiled at Wu Yan. Little brother, you don't seem surprised by my transformation and appearance? Tokisaki Kurumi raised both her hands and tilted her head. Could it be that little brother knows about the elves? Wu Yan frowned but didn't say anything. He took a few steps forward and closed the distance between him and Tokisaki Kurumi. Tokisaki Kurumi couldn't help but smile. Tokisaki Kurumi tapped her cheeks. She supported her face with one hand and her other hand was hanging by the hem. Her fair face blushed like a shy little girl. She looked at Wu Yan and said softly, "Hey little brother, do you think I'm pretty?" Wu Yan pursed his lips as he looked at Tokisaki Kurumi's bashful face. He shrugged. "What are you trying to say? What are you talking about? Are you trying to ask me how I feel about you so that you can confess your feelings to me?" Tokisaki Kurumi's smile widened when she heard Wu Yan's words. However, that shy look disappeared. That's a good idea. After all, little brother, you're very attractive to me. I'm really moved." Wu Yan sighed and he continued. "Is that so? But you don't look like the type who would fall in love at first sight with someone you meet for the first time. Oh? You seem to know a lot about me, lil bro." Toshiaki Kurumi looked at Wu Yan with her different colored eyes. She chuckled. "But you're wrong, I really fell in love with you at first sight, lil bro." Tokisaki Kurumi swayed her gothic dress and raised her high boots. She walked towards Wu Yan step by step. At the same time she looked at Wu Yan in a daze. This is really troublesome. I feel like I can't leave you anymore. What should I do? What should I do? Wu Yan furrowed his brows again. He looked at Tokisaki Kurumi with a cold glare. She looked at him like she's in a dream. Wu Yan saw Tokisaki Kurumi's mesmerized expression. However, Tokisaki Kurumi didn't look like she was in love with a lover. She looked more like a poor beggar looking at a rich missy. She wasn't looking at the missy, she was looking at the word missy in front of her. Tokisaki Kurumi seemed to have noticed the coldness in Wu Yan's eyes. She stopped in her tracks, but the dazed look in her eyes didn't weaken. Instead it became more intense. It was accompanied by a fatal fanaticism. She licked her lips and her smile turned sinister. She looked at Wu Yan and she coquettishly said, Hey bro, become one with me, we'll never be separated, okay?" Without waiting for Wu Yan's reply, Tokisaki Kurumi chuckled. Little brother, you can't refuse because I'll get angry." Tokisaki Kurumi laughed loudly. Her shoulders shook as she covered her mouth with one hand and muttered softly, I'm actually excited." Tokisaki Kurumi's body flashed with a red and white light. Several streams of light rolled up from her body and danced in the air. They turned into several pale red arms and shot towards Wu Yan like whips. Wu Yan looked relaxed on the surface, but he was on high alert. When Tokisaki Kurumi attacked, he made his move in less than a second. Dozens of crimson spatial ripples appeared behind him. As the ripples spread out, streaks of black light shot out from them and collided with the incoming hands. Then the weak arms were all smashed into smithereens as if they were dried twigs. Tokisaki Kurumi seemed a little surprised. Her eyebrows slightly arched as she looked at Wu Yan with a smile. As expected, little brother isn't an ordinary person. You're not an elf and you don't look like a human. Humans don't have such powerful strength. I want to make you my possession more and more. Wu Yan didn't feel happy at all when he heard Tokisaki Kurumi's fanatical words. It's not a good thing that this sickly girl has her eyes on him. It's better to run. Just as this thought surfaced in her mind, Tokisaki Kurumi grinned. With a twist of her hand, an ancient rifle and an ancient pistol appeared in her hands. She waved her hands in front of her, and the two pistols in her hands turned into a dance of spears. She swung them very smoothly. The appearance of the two guns made Wu Yan stop in his tracks. Tokisaki Kurumi grinned and she raised her handgun. An invisible wave gathered at the muzzle of the gun. Bang! The sound of a gunshot reverberated in the alleyway. A bullet with enough force to shatter rocks came out of Tokisaki Kurumi's pistol. She fired at Wu Yan, who narrowed his eyes. Chapter 433. The gunshot was followed by the terrifying sound of wind breaking. The bullet from Tokisaki Kurumi's ancient handgun is much more powerful than the bullets from Wu Yan's sniper rifle. The reflection of the bullet in her wine-red eyes was getting closer and closer. Wu Yan didn't expect Tokisaki Kurumi to take out a part of her angel without saying a word. Wu Yan's reaction was a little slow and he could only move his face to the side to avoid the bullet. The bullet grazed past Wu Yan's face and left a wound on Wu Yan's cheek. Fresh blood flowed down from his cheek. What did I do? Seeing the blood flowing down from Wu Yan's face, Tokisaki Kurumi turned pale with fright. She held her cheek and said pitifully, I actually hurt little brother and made him bleed. What should I do? What should I do? I wanted to become one with little brother. How could I hurt little brother? As she said that, a hint of sadness appeared on her face. It was as if she was really afraid. If someone else saw this, they would probably forgive her even if they were shot. Wu Yan bitterly smiled. He wiped the blood off his face and he licked it. The wounds on his face melted away in less than a second. Tokisaki Kurumi stopped in her tracks. Her red and gold eyes showed an intoxicated look. Although the wound wasn't deep or heavy, it was still an injury. Even an elf wouldn't be able to recover in such a short period of time unless they had some special powers. With such terrifying recovery ability, Tokisaki Kurumi sensed that Wu Yan had unlimited time. Tokisaki Kurumi understood that the man in front of her really has an immortal body. This made Tokisaki Kurumi want Wu Yan even more. Hee little brother, do you like the taste of blood too? What a coincidence, me too. Little brother and I are a match made in heaven. Hurry up and become one with me. Tokisaki Kurumi shouted excitedly. She raised both guns, but before she could pull the trigger, 2 crimson spatial ripples appeared beside her. 2 black whips shot out and tied up Tokisaki Kurumi's gun-wielding hands. At the same time, a series of crackling sounds could be heard from afar, accompanied by a dense bluish-white light. The bluish-white light vibrated, and before Tokisaki Kurumi could react, a bolt of lightning surged out and struck Tokisaki Kurumi hard. Ugh! The electric current violently flashed on Tokisaki Kurumi's body. Soon, white smoke rose from Tokisaki Kurumi's skin. She couldn't help but let out a soft cry of pain. Lightning? Tokisaki Kurumi raised her head with difficulty and looked in Wu Yan's direction. She couldn't help but be stunned. Not far from Tokisaki Kurumi, Wu Yan's body was flashing violently with bluish-white lightning. The sound of electricity echoed in the empty alley. The owner of the sound turned his head slightly and looked coldly at Tokisaki Kurumi, who was tied up by the whips. The wine-red color in his eyes disappeared and was replaced by a resplendent golden color. As Wu Yan's eyes turned golden, a pressure unique to a true ancestor rolled out from his body. Under this pressure, Tokisaki Kurumi couldn't help but feel her shoulders sink. She seemed to see a thick blood aura around Wu Yan. Hee! Tokisaki Kurumi's eyes were filled with excitement. She wasn't afraid of the blood aura that would scare an ordinary person. Instead, she was like a fish in water. Her eyes were filled with satisfaction as she looked at Wu Yan with intoxication. Little brother, you're the best. This blood aura that's like a lake of blood and the pressure of a noble existence. It's really great, really great. Tokisaki Kurumi smiled evilly and said to Wu Yan, I can't wait to become one with you. I can't wait any longer, I can't wait any longer. After saying that, Tokisaki Kurumi pulled at her bound right hand. Under Wu Yan's astonishment, her right hand was torn off. This sudden situation left Wu Yan at a loss. At this time, Tokisaki Kurumi used her broken right hand to smash the iron sand whip in her left hand. The iron sand whip shattered into iron sand and she immediately leaped away. Descent. Emperor of Carving, Zafkiel. Tokisaki Kurumi raised her hand and shouted. Her voice resounded through the sky. Following her voice, a black-red lightning bolt descended from the sky and struck Tokisaki Kurumi's back. However, the black-red lightning didn't cause any damage. Instead, it distorted Tokisaki Kurumi's back. The black-red lightning turned into a black-red light that drew a circle behind Tokisaki Kurumi. When the light dissipated, a huge clock that was twice as tall as Tokisaki Kurumi appeared behind her. Tokisaki Kurumi's angel. Emperor of Carving, Safkiel. Wu Yan's expression tensed up. He wanted to retreat. He didn't want to fight Tokisaki Kurumi to begin with. Now Tokisaki Kurumi even used Angel. It's clear that she doesn't want to let him go. Wu Yan bitterly laughed inside. What did he do to offend her? Why would she use Angel at such a high cost? Even if Tokisaki Kurumi has other people's lives as storage, it's still a waste. She's really willing to sacrifice so much for it. How could she be so generous? Wu Yan didn't know that once he fell into Tokisaki Kurumi's hands, the so-called price would be gone. Naturally, Tokisaki Kurumi didn't care about such a small amount of time. Even if she used it all up, as long as she had Wu Yan, she wouldn't need it. Bullet of 4, Daoist. Tokisaki Kurumi raised her left hand that was holding a pistol. The clock in her left eye suddenly sped up. The number 4 on the huge clock behind Tokisaki Kurumi lit up. A black-red stream of energy floated out and entered Tokisaki Kurumi's pistol. After the black-red stream of energy flowed into the pistol, Tokisaki Kurumi smiled and did something that would make others confused. She raised the pistol but didn't aim it at Wu Yan. Instead, she pointed it at herself and pressed it against her chin. Then she pulled the trigger without hesitation. Wu Yan wasn't surprised by Tokisaki Kurumi's action. He knew what kind of ability Tokisaki Kurumi's bullet of 4 has. It's the ability to reverse time. The golden pupils turned towards Tokisaki Kurumi's right hand, which was suspended in the air by the iron sand whip. The broken right hand trembled slightly and the iron sand whip loosened. The right hand didn't fall down, but flew back to Tokisaki Kurumi and reattached itself to her severed arm. Tokisaki Kurumi clenched her right hand and smiled sinisterly at Wu Yan. Let's start again. Wu Yan's body tensed up. His golden pupils turned and he focused all his attention on Tokisaki Kurumi. Tokisaki Kurumi seemed satisfied with Wu Yan's action and raised her pistol again. Bullet of 4, Daoist. This time the number 1 on the huge clock behind Tokisaki Kurumi lit up. A black-red stream of energy floated out and entered Tokisaki Kurumi's pistol. Tokisaki Kurumi shot it into her head. Then Wu Yan's expression changed. That was because Tokisaki Kurumi had already disappeared from her original spot and reappeared beside him. Chapter 434. Every number on Tokisaki Kurumi's angel represents a type of time ability. For example, the bullet of 4 can reverse time by shooting a bullet into one's body. After using the bullet of 4, no matter how much damage Tokisaki Kurumi suffered, he would be able to recover in an instant unless the golden clock on his left eye ran out. Otherwise, if Tokisaki Kurumi succeeds in using the bullet of 4 and shoots it into her body, Tokisaki Kurumi will return to her original state. Unlike the bullet of 4, the bullet of 1 is an ability that can be used on the user. However, it accelerates time, making Tokisaki Kurumi's speed unparalleled. In less than a blink of an eye, Tokisaki Kurumi has already moved to Wu Yan's side. Tokisaki Kurumi looked at Wu Yan's face that is inches away from her. She rested her head on Wu Yan's shoulder and caressed Wu Yan's face. She licked her lips with her little tongue and smiled. Ah, what a captivating taste. Tokisaki Kurumi's lips curled into a sinister smile. Her red and gold eyes stared at Wu Yan's golden eyes. They were red just a moment ago. How did they turn gold all of a sudden? Hey little brother, can you tell me? Tokisaki Kurumi's unique fragrance wafted into Wu Yan's nose as she rested on his shoulder. If it were any other time, Wu Yan's heart would be stirred. However, no matter how carefree he is right now, he wouldn't think that this is the right time to do such a thing. Taking a light breath, Wu Yan didn't turn to look at Tokisaki Kurumi. Is this okay? You're touching my body without permission. Tokisaki Kurumi was stunned. Before she could react, the sound of lightning clashing echoed. Her face turned cold and she quickly moved away from Wu Yan's body. However, her hand that was caressing Wu Yan's face was inevitably injured. The lightning struck her hand and caused her hand to twitch. The pain was transmitted to her mind. Era. Tokisaki Kurumi shook her hand that was charred black from the lightning. She looked at Wu Yan and said, "You're not an elf, but you can use such power. Lightning? If I'm not wrong, the pillar of fire just now should be little brothers. With such power and time, what kind of existence are you? I'm really curious." Time. Wu Yan didn't pay attention to Tokisaki Kurumi's words. Instead, he noticed one of her words. Combining his understanding of Tokisaki Kurumi and her ability as an angel, a thought flashed through his mind. No wonder Tokisaki Kurumi treated him like that. It was because of his unlimited lifespan, which meant unlimited time. Well, it doesn't matter. Little brother, you're going to be mine soon. I'm really excited. I'm really excited. Tokisaki Kurumi raised her right hand and pointed her rifle at Wu Yan's head. The next moment, a gunshot rang out. Blood flew into the air and scattered on the ground. Tokisaki Kurumi weighed the rifle in her hand and chuckled. He dodged it at such a close distance. Tokisaki Kurumi turned to look at the panting Wu Yan, who's holding his forehead. Damn it! Wu Yan wiped the blood off his forehead. He clenched his teeth and looked at Tokisaki Kurumi. The ability of time is really troublesome. It's just a simple acceleration of time and I'm already in this state. If I use other abilities of time, I'll be in trouble. How did Kotori defeat this pervert in the original work? That won't do, little brother. Tokisaki Kurumi's red right eye flashed with a demonic blood-red light. She raised her foot and walked towards Wu Yan. I should have told you not to reject me. As Tokisaki Kurumi got closer, a black shadow spread out from her feet. It covered the entire alley, including Wu Yan's feet. Standing in the shadow, Wu Yan felt something flowing out from his body and into the shadow. This is... Wu Yan was shocked and his face sank. Could this be the City of Time eclipse? Oh, it's over, it's over. I finally found some fun and it's going to end just like that. What a pity, what a pity. Tokisaki Kurumi lowered her head in disappointment, but she quickly raised it again with a happy smile. But to be able to become one with you, little brother, it's all worth it. Everything is worth it. Wu Yan pursed his lips after hearing Tokisaki Kurumi's morbid words. He raised his head and stomped on the ground. At the same time, electricity surged out from Wu Yan's body and shot towards the ground with unimaginable speed. Tokisaki Kurumi's face changed. On the huge clock behind her, a black and red stream of air flowed out and turned into a bullet. It flowed into Tokisaki Kurumi's gun and hit her body. In the next second, Tokisaki Kurumi disappeared on the spot, avoiding the electric current from the ground. However, the moment Tokisaki Kurumi disappeared, the shadow on the ground also disappeared. Wu Yan relaxed. Although his time was unlimited, who knew if Tokisaki Kurumi would pull him into the shadow and devour him? If he was pulled into Tokisaki Kurumi's shadow, Wu Yan didn't think that his true ancestor body would be able to keep him safe. Even if he didn't die, he wouldn't be able to avoid staying in the shadow of the City of Time eclipse for the rest of his life. Tokisaki Kurumi was annoyed. She came in front of Wu Yan and the clock in her left eye started spinning again. A huge clock appeared behind Tokisaki Kurumi. On the number 8, 2 black and red streams of air flowed out and were shot out by Tokisaki Kurumi. Bullet of 8, Chet. A shadow spread out from under Tokisaki Kurumi's feet. However, this time the shadow wasn't the City of Time eclipse. Pale red glowing arms extended from the shadow. Then, as if they were crawling out of a hole, they supported themselves on the ground. Tokisaki Kurumi crawled out from the shadow and looked at Wu Yan with an evil smile. Bullet of 8, Chet. The ability to recreate one's past self in different timelines. Seeing the Tokisaki Kurumi walking towards him, Wu Yan couldn't help but smile bitterly. No way, you're using a cheat. Seeing Wu Yan's bitter smile, Tokisaki Kurumi felt her heart ache. She raised her hand and tapped her chin. But what she said only made Wu Yan's bitter smile even more bitter. This time I won't let you escape. I won't let you escape. Bullet of 7, Zayin. The number 7 on the clock lit up. Black and red streams of air flowed into the guns in Tokisaki Kurumi's hands. Then Tokisaki Kurumi shot the bullet of 7 at Wu Yan. Not good. Wu Yan quickly retreated and dodged the bullet of 7. His heartbeat quickened. The bullet of 7's ability can stop time. If he's hit by the bullet of 7, he won't be able to move and can only be dragged into the City of Time eclipse by Tokisaki Kurumi. Bullet of 7, Aleph. However, just as Wu Yan dodged, Tokisaki Kurumi's voice rang again. Before Wu Yan could react, Tokisaki Kurumi appeared in front of Wu Yan. She raised her rifle and pointed it at Wu Yan's forehead. Bullet of 7, Zayin. Looking at Tokisaki Kurumi, who had a sickly smile on his face, his golden pupils constricted as he stared at him. Chapter 435. When he felt a cold sensation between his eyebrows, Wu Yan finally saw the rifle in front of him. His golden pupils shrunk, and in the next second, the sound of a gunshot reverberated through the empty alley. Bang! Clang! At this critical moment, a crimson spatial ripple appeared between Wu Yan's eyebrows. Black iron particles quickly floated out from it and condensed into a small ball of iron particles at the muzzle of Toshisaki Kurumi's rifle. It blocked the bullet that was about to hit Wu Yan's forehead, saving Wu Yan from danger. Toshisaki Kurumi's attack was neutralized in such a manner. She couldn't help but pause her movements for a moment, giving Wu Yan a chance to catch his breath. Wu Yan understood that there was still a gap between his strength and Toshisaki Kurumi's. After all, he was only comparable to someone at the beginning of rank 8. Toshisaki Kurumi, on the other hand, was level 75 and had a powerful angel-like Safkiel. If things continued like this, he would only end up as fertilizer. A trace of ruthlessness flashed in Wu Yan's golden pupils. Instead of retreating, he charged forward. Electricity surged from his body. He stretched out his hand and pressed it on Toshisaki Kurumi's forehead. All the electricity in his body was transferred to Toshisaki Kurumi's body in an instant. Toshisaki Kurumi didn't expect that her prey would choose to counterattack instead of running away. When the chaotic electricity hit Toshisaki Kurumi's delicate body, she couldn't help but cry out in pain. After a while, her fair and smooth skin was charred black all over. Wisps of smoke rose from her body as if she was just cooked meat. A faint smell of stew wafted from her body. The reincarnations of Toshisaki Kurumi in the past finally reacted. They raised their guns and fired wildly at Wu Yan. Bullet after bullet entered Wu Yan's body. In a short moment, Wu Yan's body was filled with black holes. Blood flowed out from the holes and stained Wu Yan red. Ha! Wu Yan gritted his teeth. He endured the pain coming from every part of his body. He yelled and he sent Toshisaki Kurumi flying with a kick. The consequence of this was naturally a new round of frenzied shooting. Bang 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 bang. The continuous gunshots were accompanied by blood that floated into the air. The random gunshots echoed in the empty alley. When the gunshots stopped, the bloodied Wu Yan was already half kneeling on the ground. The intense pain constantly invaded Wu Yan's mind, causing the ruthlessness in Wu Yan's eyes to become more and more intense. Even turned into madness. Wu Yan ignored the injuries on his body and raised his fist. Lightning flashed from Wu Yan's body again. The violent electric current rushed to Wu Yan's fist, causing it to shine. Then Wu Yan punched the ground fiercely. Boom! After a loud bang, the ground collapsed with the fist as the center. The ground in the empty alley collapsed into pieces of broken stone slabs. The surrounding ground turned into a huge pit. The reincarnations of Toshisaki Kurumi in Wu Yan's timeline were all caught off guard and fell into the pit. At this time, Wu Yan flew into the air. Above Wu Yan, a crimson spatial ripple expanded as Wu Yan soared into the sky. Along with it, the hilt of Nyedon Shana emerged. Wu Yan flew to the crimson spatial ripple and grabbed it, pulling it out with force. Burn it all up. A low voice came from the figure in the air. At the same time, the flames of the red lotus fell from the sky like lightning and crashed into the deep pit. Boom! In an instant, the red lotus fire burned fiercely in the deep pit, turning everything on the ground into a sea of fire. In the sea of fire, faint groans could be heard and screams could be heard. Faintly in the sea of fire, a thin figure could be seen slowly turning into nothingness. Huff! Huff! Looking at the sea of fire below, Wu Yan panted violently. His blood dripped into the sea of fire, causing a sizzling sound. But if one looked closely, one would notice that the holes on Wu Yan's body were slowly recovering until there was no trace of injury left. At this time, a somewhat intermittent voice drifted into Wu Yan's ears. "Looks like I've underestimated you, little brother." Hearing this voice, Wu Yan closed his eyes for a moment before turning his head to look. At the source of the voice, Toshisaki Kurumi's charred body crawled up from the ground. Her red right eye stared straight at Wu Yan. She didn't seem to have any reaction to the destruction of her past body. Instead, she seemed excited. Under Toshisaki Kurumi's excited gaze, Wu Yan couldn't help but feel his scalp tingle. He cursed in his heart, and his hand that was holding the Nimano no Shana turned blue. Wu Yan knew Toshisaki Kurumi wouldn't be easy to deal with. But now that he's facing her, Wu Yan knew that she's not just a tough nut to crack, she's a tough nut to crack. Bullet of 4, Dalit. Tokisaki Kurumi used the bullet of 4 again on his head. The charred body of Tokisaki Kurumi disappeared at a speed visible to the naked eye and returned to its original state. Seeing this, Wu Yan couldn't help but smile bitterly. Who's the one with the immortal body? I'm tired of this game. Tokisaki Kurumi's face showed some impatience. The shadow under her body expanded and pale red glowing arms started waving wildly around her body. Hey little brother, are you happy to be dragged into the city of time eclipse? Are you happy? Tokisaki Kurumi laughed maniacally. Her sweet voice sounded like it was filled with ice, chilling the hearts of those who heard it. Sighing deeply, Wu Yan could only praise his own luck. He was assassinated when he went out to buy something, killed a rat and then met a sickly girl. He raised the Yamano no Shana, and faced Tokisaki Kurumi. Red lotus flames burned on the blade and lightning flickered on his body. Crimson spatial ripples appeared behind him. At this moment Wu Yan is going all out. Even if Tokisaki Kurumi is much stronger than him after using the Zafkiel, Wu Yan still wants to let her know that she can't bully others just because she's a cute girl. Era so scary. Tokisaki Kurumi looked straight at Wu Yan's face. She held her cheeks with her hands and blushed. Little brother, you're so strong yet you're bullying a weak girl like me. Wu Yan's lips couldn't help but twitch. He wanted to teach Tokisaki Kurumi a lesson. If she's a weak woman, then what's a man like me who risked my life to leave a mark on her body? What's the big deal? Let us get along well. Tokisaki Kurumi crossed his arms and raised a long gun and a short gun. The clock in his left eye spun crazily and the Zafkiel behind him slowly lit up. On the edge of the Zafkiel, the phantom-like wheels and gears on the huge clock spun as well. A black and red aura swirled in the air. Wu Yan's heart tightened. His golden eyes were filled with vigilance. The lightning on his body and the flames on the Yamano no Shana also surged up. The atmosphere in the alley reached a critical point again. So much so that the two of them didn't notice that a bright light was shining above their heads. Chapter 436. In the empty alley, the solemn atmosphere seemed to be about to materialize, reverberating in this space. Under this atmosphere, the two people facing each other had different expressions. One face was filled with seriousness and vigilance, while the other was filled with excitement and fanaticism. Just as Wu Yan and Tokisaki Kurumi were about to start their second round of battle, a beam of light suddenly appeared in the sky. It descended towards the empty alley at a speed no slower than either of them. Before the two of them could react, the beam of light had already appeared above the empty alley. When the two of them felt that something was wrong, they quickly raised their heads. Only then did they see the scene above them. They saw an extremely resplendent beam of light descending at lightning speed. In the next moment, the beam of light landed on Wu Yan, who had just raised his head and enveloped him. What's going on? Wu Yan was shocked. He waved his Nyedan Shana, in an attempt to cut off the beam of light that enveloped him. However, the Nyedan Shana seemed to have cut through the air and did nothing. Wu Yan furrowed his brows. When he felt that the beam of light had no effect on him, Wu Yan let out a sigh of relief. On the ground, Tokisaki Kurumi looked at the beam of light that enveloped Wu Yan. He seemed to have thought of something and his expression changed. He subconsciously reached out his hand and shouted, "Wait!" However, just as Tokisaki Kurumi's voice rang out, the beam of light suddenly lit up. The resplendent light illuminated the entire dark alley like it was daytime. The dazzling light caused Tokisaki Kurumi to raise his hands to block in front of him. One of his red and one of his gold eyes involuntarily closed. Within the resplendent light, the beam of light shook and retracted at a speed several times faster than when it came. It returned to where it came from and disappeared in the blink of an eye. However, the same thing happened to Wu Yan, who was enveloped by the beam of light. When Tokisaki Kurumi recovered from the dazzling light and opened his eyes, both the beam of light and Wu Yan had disappeared. All that was left was the ruins and the 5 members of the AST sniper team who were knocked down by the shockwave. Tokisaki Kurumi's expression turned gloomy. It was obvious that someone had taken away Wu Yan. Clutching her forehead, Tokisaki Kurumi chuckled softly. Her laughter grew louder and louder until it reverberated throughout the empty alley. Tokisaki Kurumi's red right eye flashed with a demonic blood-red color as he laughed maniacally. No matter where you run to, you'll become mine in the end. You can't escape, you can't escape. Behind Tokisaki Kurumi, the clock, Safkiel, disappeared without a trace as soon as she finished her sentence. Tokisaki Kurumi lightly sighed and pursed his lips into a smile. Seriously, I'm getting hot in advance. However, the good stuff should be saved for last. So it's you again? At this time, an indifferent voice was heard from behind Tokisaki Kurumi. Hearing this voice, a faint smile appeared on Tokisaki Kurumi's face. She seemed to recognize the owner of this voice. She turned her head and looked towards the source of the voice. A petite girl of about 14 years old with dark blue hair tied in a ponytail and a mole under her left eye stood not far from Tokisaki Kurumi. Her brown eyes scanned the empty alley. When she saw the 5 corpses on the ground, she wasn't surprised at all. Instead, she frowned when she saw the mess on the ground. Her emotionless eyes stared at Tokisaki Kurumi. There was an unconcealable numbness in her eyes. The girl said, "Why didn't you use the word eat this time?" "Nightmare." Tokisaki Kurumi chuckled and said to the girl, "If I said I didn't do it this time, would you believe me?" Is that so?" The girl didn't care at all. It was obvious that she didn't take Tokisaki Kurumi's words to heart. Tokisaki Kurumi didn't care at all and shrugged. The number of people who died in Tokisaki Kurumi's hands is 1,000 times more than the number of people here. If she were to count them one by one, who knows how long it would take even if all of AST's members were to do the math. Adding in 5 more wouldn't matter. Seeing that Tokisaki Kurumi was silent, the girl's gaze sharpened. Then a light flashed from her body. After the light dimmed, a light armor similar to AST's appeared on her body. But it was of a different color. The girl pulled out a lightsaber from her back and pointed it at Tokisaki Kurumi. "Then please die again," the girl said in a numb tone. It sounded like she's killed Tokisaki Kurumi multiple times already. Tokisaki Kurumi grinned. He didn't retort or resist. He looked at the girl rushing towards him and put down his gun. He looked up at the sky. Next time. Before he could finish his sentence, the light sword in the young girl's hand slashed across Tokisaki Kurumi's throat, cutting off the rest of his words. Fresh blood sprayed into the air. Above Heavenly Palace City Fraxinus. On a platform in the invisible airship, a beam of light suddenly rose up and illuminated the platform like a light bulb. Then it slowly dimmed. As the light pillar dimmed, a figure appeared on the high platform. The clothes on his body were in tatters as if he had just come out from a refugee area. However, a glint flashed across his wine-red eyes from time to time, telling others just what kind of energy he possessed. The one who appeared here is naturally Wu Yen, who was taken away by the beam of light. His wine-red eyes scanned the scene. When the familiar scene imprinted itself into Wu Yan's eyes, Wu Yan felt relieved. He also roughly guessed why he appeared here. "Welcome back." In front of the platform, Rain Murasame, who always has dark circles under her eyes, stared blankly at Wu Yan. Her tired voice sounded like she didn't sleep at all. Wu Yan felt powerless when he heard it. Where's Kotori?" Jumping down from the platform, Wu Yan looked at Rain Murasame. "It should be Kotori's idea to send me back through the teleportation device." Rain Murasame nodded and walked outside. "Let's go, the commander is waiting for you in the command room." Wu Yan scratched his face and followed Rain Murasame to the command room. In the command room, all the members of Ratatoskr looked up at the big screen in front of them. Their eyes were filled with seriousness, fear, hesitation, and uncertainty. They all fell silent, causing the command room to become silent. Kotori, who was sitting on the command platform, was included as well. On the big screen in front of them, the battle between Wu Yan and Tokisaki Kurumi is being broadcasted. Looking at the battle on the screen, everyone is impressed by Wu Yan's strength. Even when facing such a powerful elf, he can still hold his ground. Even though he's at a disadvantage, no one will look down on Wu Yan. That's because they all witnessed Tokisaki Kurumi's ability as an angel. However, right now they were thinking more about the sprite that could identify Nightmare. After all, they saw with their own eyes Tokisaki Kurumi's strength, bloodthirst, madness, and wickedness. This was completely different from the elves they knew in the past. From this, they can see why Tokisaki Kurumi is called the evilest elf. It's because Tokisaki Kurumi's existence is constantly disrupting people's understanding of elves. Chapter 437. Kurumi's divine spiritual equipment appeared on her body. A gloomy luster filled the sky above her body, and a greedy aura swept out from Kurumi's body. Everyone's expression turned solemn. Kwang San opened his arms and made a gesture of hugging. The golden clock in his left eye slowly started to turn. At this moment, everyone felt that Kwang San was the only one left in this world. Zafkiel Kwang San floated half a foot above the ground and floated in the air. His hand reached towards the sky as if he wanted to grab something. He shouted in a loud and clear voice. His voice reverberated throughout the open space and entered everyone's ears. On the ground, Kotori, Toka, and Yoshino's expression changed. As elves, they knew what Kurumi's action meant. If an elf without an angel had a combat power of 1, then an elf with an angel would have a combat power of 100. Of course, the 100 here didn't mean that the combat power increased by 100 times, it meant that the danger level increased by 100 times. Under everyone's attentive gazes, a black lightning bolt descended from the sky and landed on Kwang San's back. When the black lightning disappeared, a huge clock with an illusory wheel appeared behind Kwang San's back. Accompanying it was an ancient handgun and rifle. Hee 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 hee. Kwang San grinned and let out a burst of laughter that made everyone's hair stand on end. She raised her 2 guns and drew 2 arcs in front of her. Then, like the hour and minute hands of the huge clock behind her, she pointed at the numbers on the huge clock. Aleph. When the handgun pointed at the number 1 on the huge clock, a black and red stream of air immediately floated up and flowed into the handgun in Kwang San's hand. At the same time, the golden clock in Kwang San's left eye sped up. On the opposite side, Yeuechinyu, who was standing at the back, gritted his teeth. Although the sniper rifle in his hand was aimed at Kwang San, he didn't dare to pull the trigger because he knew that if he didn't succeed with the ability of the other party, he would definitely be killed in an instant. Therefore this shot was very important. Yeuechinyu knew that in terms of combat power he might be stronger than ordinary people, but compared to Shina the gap was not small. After all, Shina not only underwent body modification, but also had the latest equipment. In this battle, Shina was the main force. Therefore what Yeuechinyu could do was to be like a real sniper, waiting for the rabbit to hit the tree stump. When the rabbit hit the tree stump, he would fire a fatal shot. Yeuechinyu didn't shoot, but that didn't mean that Kurumi's pistols were weak. Bang! The sound of the gunshot echoed. Before anyone could react, Kurumi had already fired the Aleph into his head. With the sound of the gunshot, Kurumi instantly disappeared from Shina and Yeuechinyu's sight. Their pupils shrank at the same time and their hearts were slightly shocked. In the blink of an eye, Kurumi appeared beside Shina with a smirk on his face. "Be careful!" Toka and Yoshino exclaimed, but it was too late. Kurumi's rifle was already aimed at Shina's body. The next moment, the sound of the trigger being pulled, the sound of the bullet being fired, and the sound of the bullet hitting the body, it didn't take long before it was heard. Obviously it was a bullet, but Shina felt like he was hit by a heavy hammer and he was directly blown away. However, most of Kurumi's attack was weakened by Shina's advanced equipment. Only a small part of it affected Shina's body, and it didn't cause much damage to Shina. Therefore, with the help of the flamethrower on his equipment, Shina quickly stabilized his body. Just as he was about to rush towards Kurumi, Kurumi disappeared again. This time she appeared behind Shina and sent him flying with a kick. Bullet of 7. The handgun pointed at the huge clock again, but this time it was 7. The black and red energy flow that represented the bullet of 7 Zain flowed into the handgun and was shot out by Kurumi. This time Shina didn't have time to stabilize his body, and he was directly hit by the bullet of 7. When the bullet of 7 hit Shina's body, a transparent circular shield covered his body, and the strange thing is Shina, who was flying back, stopped in midair. With such a result, Kwang San naturally aimed the guns in her hands at him. "Shina!" On the ground, Toka screamed in horror. Yoshino couldn't bear to watch anymore and he tightly closed his eyes. Only Kotori calmly looked at the scene in midair. Bang! The sound of the gunshot rang out under everyone's different expressions. However, this gunshot stunned Kwang San because it wasn't hers. The sound of the bullet piercing through the air rang in Kurumi's ears. Her hand that was about to pull the trigger stopped, and she quickly retracted her hand, but she was a bit slow. A bullet hit Kurumi's gun, and the gun that was aimed at Shina's body deviated from its trajectory. At this time Kurumi pulled the trigger. The bullet that was supposed to hit Shina's body was deflected to Granny's house. The bullet shot into the sky and disappeared from Kurumi's sight. This wasn't the end of it. What was even more incredible was that the bullet that caused the trajectory to deviate was actually slightly slanted. As a result, the bullet that hit the body of the gun after completing its mission, it rubbed against the body of the gun and went straight towards Kwang 3's chest. A sharp pain spread from Kurumi's chest to her brain, accompanied by scarlet blood flowing down from her chest. Kurumi's expression was a bit sluggish, as if she couldn't believe it. She lowered her head and looked at her chest, but the blood in her eyes told her that all of this was real. Kurumi clutched her chest, and suddenly turned her head towards the direction where the bullet came from. There, Yue reloaded his sniper rifle and aimed at Kurumi, telling her that he was the one who did that. However, Yue didn't intend to chat with Kurumi. He also didn't intend to explain the principle of his unique skill to the opponent after the attack worked like in the anime. So, under Kurumi's gaze, the sniper rifle in Yue hand rang again. Kurson secretly clicked his tongue. He took a step in the air and left the place. The bullet brushed past his body and flew into the distance. The effect of this shot was to force Kurson to retreat. Kurumi narrowed her eyes, and was about to rush towards Yue to kill him. Perhaps Yue guessed Kurumi's intention. On the ground, Yue smiled at Kurumi, and that smile made Kurumi subconsciously stunned. Suddenly, Kurumi's expression changed and she quickly turned her gaze from Yue to Shina, who was stopped by the bullet of 7. She looked at Shina, and immediately understood the meaning of Yue's smile. She saw that the transparent black shield that wrapped Shina began to lose its effect, and in an instant it disappeared. Shina regained control of his body and suddenly stopped his body from flying backwards. The 2 jets on his shoulders shook and he rushed towards Kurumi. When Kurumi realized that she was careless, Shina had already appeared in front of her, looking at her expressionlessly, and the lightsaber in his hand chopped down. Blood spilled from the air. Chapter 438. After Kotori made the decision, someone in the command room responded and went to carry it out. Tozaki Kurumi will be the main target of Ratatosker's surveillance. At the very least, Tozaki Kurumi's sudden appearance shouldn't happen again. After Kotori finished speaking, the command room fell into silence once more. Only the symphony of battle and Kurumi's maniacal laughter could be heard on the big screen. After some time, Wu Yan suddenly recalled the assassination attempt by AST's higher-ups. Wu Yan turned to Kotori. "Oh right, Kotori, before I met Tozaki Kurumi, I was assassinated by AST's people." Kotori's eyes widened. Wu Yan's casual but frightening words almost made her swallow the candy bar in her mouth. She choked and coughed. Cough cough. "Why didn't you tell me about such an important matter until now?" Kotori covered her throat and coughed while glaring at Wu Yan. He was so angry that the ribbon on her head shook. Wu Yan chuckled awkwardly when he heard Kotori. "I say, Ratatosker clearly broadcasted my battle with Kurumi on the big screen, so how could they not know that I was assassinated by AST? After that, I met Kwang-san." Kotori crossed her arms and curled her lips. "We were able to detect your battle with Tokisaki Kurumi because she summoned her spiritual equipment and her psychic waves leaked out. Who would have been watching you before that? Ratatosker isn't a peeping Tom. No, Ratatosk was a voyeur. Every time an elf appeared, Ratatosk would replay the scene on the big screen and monitor it for more than 10 times. Wu Yan inwardly retorted. Subconsciously he released a sigh of relief. This is good, at least Kotori doesn't know that he killed everyone in AST. Otherwise, even if Kotori doesn't blame him in her commander mode, she would at least feel bad about it. Moreover, the kind sister mode would probably be afraid of him. Who knows? Kotori glanced at Wu Yan and said to Wu Yan. "What's going on? Why would AST assassinate you? I haven't received any reports of AST's movements." Wu Yan didn't try to hide anything. "The AST assassins that came to assassinate me weren't part of Kyuchi Origami's frontline unit. They were part of a sniper unit. They seemed to be under the direct command of the higher-ups of AST." Direct command of AST's higher-ups. Kotori narrowed her eyes and sneered. "Ah, it's those guys' troops. No wonder I couldn't get any news. The direct subordinates of the AST higher-ups usually don't appear in the eyes of others. They only hide in the dark and secretly do things that others look down on. If it's them, then it's not strange at all." Wu Yan could hear the disdain and disgust in Kotori's words. It seems like Kotori doesn't have a good impression of AST's higher-ups who only know how to talk. Coterie asked Wu Yan. Then why did they attack you? Wu Yan frowned and looked at Coterie in confusion. Wasn't the reason why you attacked me because I was mistaken for an elf when I arrived with the spacequake earlier? After all, I only explained to you guys that I'm not an elf. But you don't have psychic waves. Coterie froze as if she thought of something. It's not just Coterie, Kamizuki Kyuhei and Murasame Rain also had a strange feeling. This made Wu Yan even more confused. Even if there's no psychic wave, the people from saw me descend with their own eyes. Perhaps they thought that I used some method to conceal my psychic wave, or perhaps they would rather kill the wrong person than let me go. That's understandable. Hasn't always been aiming to destroy the elves? Wuxian asked. Wu Yan looked at Coterie with his red eyes. Alright Coterie, if I was attacked, what about Toka? She shouldn't have been attacked, right? I tried to get information from the sniper squad leader but he didn't know anything about Toka. Isn't that a little too unrealistic? Wu Yan isn't sure if it's just his imagination but he felt like Coterie's expression is getting stiffer and stiffer. She even started shivering as if she knew something. Wu Yan rubbed his chin and stared at Coterie. Coterie, could it be that you know what's going on? Coterie chuckled but there's a hint of guilt in her laughter. Wu Yan narrowed his eyes. Wu Yan's intuition tells him that the reason he's being treated differently than Toka is because of this commander. Coterie's expression turned unnatural under Wu Yan's intense gaze. She finally said, Toka is under Ratatosker's political protection because she's an elf. As long as she doesn't have psychic waves, Ace-T won't pay attention to her. Political protection? That's right. Coterie went all out. It's similar to America's Witness Protection Program. Oh. Wu Yan rubbed his chin and grinned at Coterie. In other words, Toka is under Ratatosker's political protection so she doesn't attract attention but I'm not. That's why I was attacked. Is that what you're trying to say? Coterie gulped, she's speechless. Looks like she's admitting to it. Wu Yan flipped over 1,000 tables in his heart. He couldn't stay calm as he shouted. Why is there a difference in treatment? Don't tell me they don't care about me? You're so long-winded. Coterie retorted. Ratatosker's political protection is only for elves. You're not an elf so what? Coterie fidgeted for a bit and whispered. So I forgot. After a while, Wu Yan slapped himself on the head and sighed at the sky. He wanted to cry but no tears came out. I'm being targeted because this cute girl forgot. That's why I'm being targeted. That's why I attracted Toshisaki Kurumi. My bad luck today is all because of this girl. Coterie knew that she was being natural for once so she felt a bit awkward. She didn't want to face Wu Yan so she quickly changed the topic. By the way, Sherdao Ratatosker has decided to assign you an assistant. You can ask him to do anything for you in the future. In order to change the topic, Coterie didn't ask for Wu Yan's opinion. She yelled out. Come in. The door to the command room opened automatically. A beautiful person with long silver hair wearing the same uniform as Kyuhei Kanazuki walked in and bowed to Coterie. Commander. Yatsuki-chinyu. I'm here to report. Finishing his words, the guy called Yatsuki-chinyu turned to Wu Yan and bowed again. Captain. I'm Yatsuki-chinyu, I'm looking forward to your guidance. Seeing that his so-called assistant is pretty, Wu Yan's expression lightened up a bit. Thank you for your guidance, beautiful lady. Yes. Captain. Yatsuki-chinyu smiled at Wu Yan. Wu Yan smiled back. But what Yatsuki-chinyu said next made Wu Yan's smile freeze. By the way, Captain, I'm a man. Wu Yan channeled his innate chi into his head. Wu Yan looked at the smiling, beautiful girl in front of him and he started crying. Chapter 439. Captain, this is a communicator. Yue-chinyu handed Wu Yan an item similar to a Bluetooth headset. If there's anything you need, you can use this to contact me directly. Wu Yan nodded nonchalantly. He put away the Bluetooth headset, which is also the communicator. Then he looked at Yatsuki-chinyu and sighed. Wu Yan patted Yue-chinyu's shoulder and said seriously, Yeah, I never believed that there would be a man who looks like a girl and is very beautiful. But after seeing you, I believe it. Yue-chinyu's lips curled up. He didn't seem to care about Wu Yan's words. Instead, he seemed to be very happy. He said shyly, Captain, you can call me Chinyu. Wu Yan raised an eyebrow. Looking at Yatsuki-chinyu, who seems to be in a state of shyness, Wu Yan clenched his fists. His heart is struggling to hold it in. Because if he didn't, Wu Yan was afraid that he wouldn't be able to control himself and beat up this guy who had a beautiful face but was actually a pure man. After taking a few breaths, Wu Yan forced a smile and said, "Then I'll go home first. If there's an emergency, remember to inform me." Yatsuki Chinyu got serious when it came to business. He saluted Wu Yan and said in a loud and resonant voice, "Sir, Captain, is there really no problem?" Casting a suspicious glance at Yatsuki Chinyu, Wu Yan could only keep his thoughts to the back of his mind. He waved his hand at his assistant and stepped on the teleportation device in front of him before disappearing. Heavenly Palace City, Wu He's house. Wu Yan took out the ingredients and clothes that he put in the gate of Babylon and pushed open the door of Wu He's house and walked in. Of course, Wu Yan wasn't used to shouting, "I'm back." The people of the Celestial Empire didn't like that. Wu Yan walked into the living room and threw everything on the table. He shrugged and was about to go back to his room when he saw a scene from the corner of his eye. He slowly turned his head and looked at the table not far away. Wu Yan saw a beautiful girl with dark purple hair. Her eyes were rolling and she fell on the table. She kept crying and looked like she couldn't get up. "Xianxia?" Wu Yan's face changed. "What's wrong with you?" Xianxia, who was lying on the table, suddenly heard Wu Yan's voice. She trembled and raised her head with difficulty. When she saw that it was Wu Yan, her purple eyes lit up as if she saw her savior. She reached out to Wu Yan. "Shido." Wu Yan couldn't help but frown when he saw Xianxia's uncomfortable expression. Then he heard her weak voice. Wu Yan looked at her and felt a little worried. "She's not sick, is she?" Wu Yan walked up to Xianxia and held her hand. He quickly said, "Xianxia, what's wrong? Are you not feeling well?" "Shido, Shido." Xianxia looked up at Wu Yan. Tears fell from her eyes. Wu Yan was shocked. But in the next moment, Xianxia's words made Wu Yan's face collapse bit by bit. In the end, it turned into the word, embarrassed. "I am hungry." Xianxia seemed to have used up her last bit of strength. She closed her eyes and lowered her head. Once again she prostrated herself on the table. Looking at the burnt toka, Wu Yan wanted to cry but no tears came out. He found out that today is really his day of suffering. Not only did he run into an assassination attempt, he ran into a sickly girl, he ran into a trap, and now he almost got screwed over by this glutton of his. "Where's Shiji?" "Xianxia, don't you know how to ask Shiji to get you something to eat?" Wu Yan helplessly rubbed Xianxia's head and sighed. His tone was full of helplessness. Xianxia didn't look up. Her muffled voice came from the table. "Shiji, she said she ran out of ingredients so she can't cook." Toka struggled to lift her head. She looked at Wu Yan with teary eyes. She whimpered. "Shido dinner." "Got it, I will make it for you now." Wu Yan waved his hand and he walked towards the kitchen. Toka finally smiled when she saw this. She looked at Wu Yan with eyes full of hope and anticipation. While Wu Yan was cooking, Shirori caught a whiff of the aroma coming from upstairs. She immediately came to the living room. Kotori followed behind her and she sat down with Shirori and Toka at the dining table. She looked at Wu Yan in the kitchen with glowing eyes. Smelling the aroma wafting through the air, she looked like she's intoxicated. Naturally, the three of them were very satisfied with the meal that followed. While Shirori was cleaning up the table, Kotori tore open a treasure and put it in her mouth. She enjoyed it like a dessert after a meal. She licked the pearl in her mouth and glanced around the living room. When she saw Xianxia rubbing her belly, Kotori thought of something and turned to Wu Yan. Her red eyes turned and a sly smile appeared on her face. "Big brother, it's time to take a bath," Kotori said casually as if she was talking to her family. "Okay." Wu Yan nodded. He stood up from the table and looked at Xianxia. "Sure, Xiang, I've bought your clothes for you. They're on the sofa over there. Go try them on and see if they fit." Xianxia nodded. She spread her arms and pounced on the sofa. Wu Yan chuckled and shook his head. She then walked to the bathroom. When Wu Yan disappeared from the living room, Kotori's nonchalant expression changed. She sneaked a glance at Xianxia, who was happily fiddling with the clothes. She covered her mouth and giggled. "Damn brother. This time Kotori will definitely get her revenge." Kotori was still holding a grudge over what happened last time. Kotori quickly swallowed the pearl in her mouth. When she felt it was almost time, she turned to Toka. "Xianxia, big brother should be done. You can go take a bath now." "Okay." Xianxia didn't suspect anything. He didn't expect Wu Yan to take a bath in less than 5 minutes. He picked up a set of clothes and ran to the bathroom. Coterie giggled when she saw Xianxia go in. She stood up and ran to the bathroom as well. Of course she wasn't going to join them. She was just there to watch the show. Coterie schemed against Wu Yan again. He wanted to take revenge for what happened last time. It was the same as the last time she schemed against Wu Yan. He wanted to train Wu Yan. Originally, Coterie thought Wu Yan didn't need to go through so much trouble with the skill he displayed when he took down Toka. Also last time, Wu Yan saw her naked in the bathroom and he didn't even bat an eyelid. He might be a bit shameless, but in terms of objective, Wu Yan met Coterie's requirements. This time Coterie found out about Tokisaki Kurumi. Even Wu Yan can't do anything about this elf. Coterie herself couldn't come up with any ideas either. He could only try to stimulate this elf. Who knows, maybe she'll come up with a solution in the blink of an eye. It was because of this that Itsuka Shido was able to live a happy and painful life in the original work. Coterie hid behind the stairs and watched Toka walk into the bathroom. Coterie let out a sigh of relief. She peeked her head out and looked at the bathroom waiting for some noise. For example, Toka's scream, Toka's scream, Toka's scream, Toka's scream. Chapter 440. 10 seconds later. 30 seconds later. 1 minute later. Why is there no movement? 5 minutes later, Coterie finally couldn't hold it in any longer. She covered her head with her hands and shook her head with all her might. Her 2 red ponytails swayed in the air and her white satin ribbons also swayed. She was unable to accept what was happening. Does Toka not mind Oniai-chan's presence? Did they take a shower together? With that thought in mind, a scene appeared in Coterie's mind. Shido. Toka was wrapped in a towel, her face was flushed. She rubbed her hands together and said shyly, "Let's take a shower together." Toka. Wu Yan looked at Toka in a daze. He got up from the tub and walked up to her. He looked into her purple eyes. Shido. Toka. Wu Yan and Toka's eyes lit up as they murmured her name. Their mesmerized faces slowly inched closer to each other. Puff. Steam rose from Coterie's head and her cute little face turned crimson. Coterie whimpered and cupped her face with her hands. She shook her head violently again. No. Toka and Oniai-chan wouldn't do something like that. Coterie pursed her lips and said hesitantly. She didn't have confidence in her own words. Coterie raised her foot. She wanted to check out the situation with her own eyes. However, when she thought about how Wu Yan and Toka might be doing something in the bathroom, Coterie couldn't bring herself to move her foot down. No. Coterie said embarrassedly. A calm voice came from behind Coterie. What do you mean? Big Brother and Toka won't do anything embarrassing at home. Coterie answered subconsciously and then her whole body froze. I won't. Coterie's eyes were filled with tears. She tried to comfort herself, but this time she wasn't talking about the bathroom. Instead she was talking about the voice behind her. Coterie gulped. Her neck cracked as though it had rusted. She turned around slowly and when she saw the figure looking at her with a spurious smile, all the joy in her heart flew away. Coterie crooked her head and forced a smile. Oh. Oniai-chan. Oh ho ho, good morning. Wu Yan raised an eyebrow. He turned his head to the side and looked at the night sky outside the window. The moon can be seen clearly in the night sky. Then he nodded with a brilliant smile on his face. Good morning to you too. Coterie shuddered when she saw Wu Yan's brilliant smile. She looked like she's about to cry but no tears came out. Why? Why am I here and not in the bathroom? Wu Yan narrowed his eyes and he pressed down on Coterie's head. He chuckled. Haven't you heard that the same move is useless against a Saint Seiya? No, I mean against me, your brother. Plus. Wu Yan rubbed his chin and he chuckled as he reminisced. What's more, you failed the first time you used the same move. Coterie shuddered when she saw the smile on Wu Yan's face. She didn't forget the price she had to pay when she fell at the hands of her older brother. Coterie whimpered and said meekly, Be big brother, I know I was wrong. Wu Yan's face turned cold when he heard that. You know you were wrong? I remember that you said the same thing the last time. Do you think I'll believe you? Gulp. Coterie gulped and forced a smile. Brother, you'll forgive Coterie, right? Coterie is your cute little sister. Yeah, my cute little sister. Wu Yan caressed Coterie's red hair, His lips curled into a grin that sent chills down Kotori's spine. "So, my cute little sister, how do you want me to punish you in order to forgive you?" "Punish. Punishment, 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 punishment." Kotori's face paled. Was this so-called punishment referring to the one from last time? A blush crept up Kotori's neck and covered her entire face. Kotori's face turned red when she saw the smile on Wu Yan's face. She screamed and she turned around to run. However, with her power sealed, Kotori is just a normal human. Wu Yan, who is on the verge of reaching Tier 8, is no different from trash in terms of speed. Kotori only managed to run 2 steps before a hand grabbed her collar and pulled her back. When Kotori realized she was back to her original position, a smirk on his face enlarged in her eyes. In the next instant, the mischievous smile on his face and the panicked face on his face directly overlapped with each other at almost 0 distance. Kotori's red eyes widened. She couldn't believe her eyes. Her first kiss was taken away by her cheap older brother just like that. His arms encircled Kotori's waist and he squeezed her soft and petite body into his embrace. Wu Yan straightened his head and he bent Kotori's body a bit. Then he used his tongue to force open her teeth and he stuck his tongue into her mouth. Kotori's mouth rapidly widened. When Kotori recovered from her daze, her small tongue had already been entangled by a large tongue. Moreover, the large tongue even coiled around her small tongue domineeringly and began to stir irregularly. "Ugh, ugh." Kotori whimpered. Her small hands couldn't help but touch Wu Yan's chest. She wanted to push but she couldn't muster up any strength. She wanted to hit him but she couldn't raise her fist. In the end, Kotori could only watch as the man enjoyed her lips. Her consciousness started to blur. At the top of the stairs, 2 figures were tightly in contact with each other. Their heads were constantly moving left and right. From their overlapping lips, ee sounds could be heard endlessly, adding a bit of warmth to this cold staircase. Their tongues intertwined and the pleasure was transmitted into their minds. The man was intoxicated and the woman was absent-minded. The man was even more intoxicated and the woman was becoming more and more absent-minded. This scene was repeated repeatedly. After a long time, the 2 lips finally parted. Their expressions once again entered the eyes of the 2 people. However, one of them was normal and seemed to have mastered the Dao. As for the other, her face was flushed red. Her eyes were blurred and she was panting heavily. She was unable to control herself. Kotori clutched Wu Yan's clothes tightly as she slumped into Wu Yan's embrace. The white ribbons on her head swayed as if she's shy. Kotori gasped for air as she looked at Wu Yan with her misty eyes. She mumbled something while gasping for air. "Onii-chan." Wu Yan held his breath when he heard Koto's mumbling. He stared at her flushed face, her watery eyes and her panting face. He couldn't hold himself back anymore. He reached his mouth out again and took control of the lips he tasted once before. Ugh. Her teeth were attacked and her tongue was captured. Kotori passively accepted everything that was happening to her. She slowly closed her eyes. The flirtatious atmosphere was still lingering. Chapter 441. The next morning, the sky once again turned gray. The originally good weather was completely covered by the dark clouds that covered the entire sky. The earth also seemed to have dimmed a little and the vitality also dissipated a little. Everything became a little listless. Looking up, people can only see the dark clouds rolling in the sky. The birds also seemed to be frightened by something and flew away. Everything looks so listless. Only experienced people know that it's about to rain. On a street in Heavenly Palace City, Wu Yan, Kotori, Toka and Shirori are walking towards the school. At this time, Toka is beside Wu Yan, happily eating a piece of bread in her hand. Wu Yan is lazily yawning. He looks like he didn't sleep enough. Kotori walked in front of everyone. She didn't even look back. Her usual cheerful expression is gone, replaced by a blush from time to time. Ever since they left the house, the 4 of them have been walking in the same manner. Shirori has been staring at Kotori ever since she left the house. Her eyes flashed with a thoughtful light. When they were about to go their separate ways, Shirori turned her head and whispered into Wu Yan's ear. "Shido, don't you think Kotori is a bit strange today?" "Is that so?" Wu Yan blinked his eyes that are already tearing up from yawning as he replied nonchalantly. Shirori didn't mind. She knew that Shido was always like this. They would never have the energy to wake up in the morning, so she continued. "Normally, Kotori is always smiling when she goes out. and it's inevitable that she would jump up and down when she walks. She's always so cheerful, but look at her today. Not only is she smiling, she doesn't even say anything. She just keeps walking forward. She's not like the usual coterie at all. Shiori continued. Also, coterie was acting strangely in the morning. Usually, coterie's laughter is heard at home. Wu Yan looked at coterie who is walking in front of him. His wine-red eyes scanned every inch of coterie's body. When he noticed that coterie's face is slightly red, he couldn't help but chuckle. Coterie's abnormal behavior is most likely due to the kissing scene last night. Last night, coterie woke up from the kissing scene and screamed with a red face. She ran into her room and didn't come out. She only came out in the morning after Shiori called her. She didn't even dare to look at him. Wu Yan found it funny. Coterie in her younger sister mode is so innocent and fun to play with. Of course, Wu Yan has to thank Shiori for this. If it wasn't for her presence at home, coterie wouldn't dare to use the black ribbon and turn into commander mode. Otherwise he would have lost a few pieces of flesh last night. Silently thanking Shiori, Wu Yan laughed. Well girls, there's always a day or two when they're not normal. Shiori almost fell to the ground. She gritted her teeth and looked at Wu Yan, obviously blaming him for being indecent. Wu Yan scratched his head and laughed apologetically. Shiori snorted. She looked at coterie and said thoughtfully, coterie couldn't have been taken advantage of by a boy in school, right? Wu Yan was shocked. He quickly turned his head and pretended not to know anything. However, his admiration for Shiori has increased by several levels. Although it wasn't at school, coterie was indeed taken advantage of by a boy. It's said that a girl's sixth sense is very accurate. He didn't expect a feminine main character to have such a special ability as well. It's really admirable. In Class 4, Grade 2 of Duli Lichon High School, a morning class passed quietly in such a gray weather. At this time it was already raining outside the window. Shido. Toka had a lunchbox in her hand. She moved her table to Wu Yan's side and joined them together. Let's have lunch together. Wu Yan nodded with a smile and turned to Shiori. Shiori, come here and eat with us. Oh okay. Shiori paused for a moment before replying. She moved her desk over as well, intending to merge it with Wu Yan's desk. However, before she could merge her desk, another desk suddenly swept out from behind and inserted itself in front of Shiori. Before Shiori's desk could merge with Wu Yan's desk, it stopped right beside Wu Yan's desk. Wu Yan, Toka and Shiori were stunned. They reflexively looked behind the table. In the next second, Toka's expressionless face entered their line of sight. Urushi-san. Shiori looked at Urushi-san in surprise. She didn't know what to do. Toka was also shocked. She frowned and said, "What are you doing?" "I want to join you." Tabichi Origami used a flat tone, but it's not hard to hear the tone of her voice. Her blue eyes stared at Wu Yan, causing goosebumps to rise all over Wu Yan's body. 10 Fragrance could not help but pout in dissatisfaction. She did not have a good impression of Yuichi Origami, who would chase after her every time she descended. She said rudely, "Don't get in my way." Kite Origami immediately said, "That's what I want to say." Toka and Toka's eyes shot out electricity. Wu Yan, who was sandwiched in the middle, was trembling. Shiori quickly said, "Everyone, let's eat together." Okay. Tabichi Origami was the first to answer. Tabichi Origami was the first to sit down. Tabichi Origami had nothing to say and sat down with Shiori. As a result, a very strange scene appeared. Shiori sat up straight like a high school student. She picked up her lunchbox nervously. Toka stared at Tabichi Origami with unconcealed hostility. Tabichi Origami stared at Wu Yan with an emotionless expression. Wu Yan started sweating profusely. With trembling hands he opened his lunchbox, but no matter how hard he tried he couldn't move his chopsticks. Tabichi Origami's calm gaze is too oppressive. Wu Yan is under a mountain of pressure. What's worse is that Tabichi Origami's eyes are filled with undisguised hostility. However, the hostility in Tobarama's eyes was different from that of looking at an enemy. The hostility in Tobarama's eyes was more like looking at a love rival. He nervously picked up a piece of meat and put it into his mouth. Wu Yan couldn't stand Toichi Origami's gaze, so he put the lunchbox to his mouth and buried his head in it. He started eating without caring about anything else. Toka was finally satisfied. She turned around and opened her lunchbox. She looked at Shiori, who was busy eating. She picked up a piece of food and brought it to Shiori's mouth as she spoke calmly. Please eat. The air suddenly froze. Shiori stared blankly at the expressionless Tokichi origami in front of her. She then stared blankly at the chopsticks in front of her. She couldn't help but swallow her saliva. She forced a smile and said, Tokichi, just call me origami. Shiori looked at Toka awkwardly and said, Origami, I have my own lunchbox. Please eat. As if she didn't hear Shiori's words, Tabichi origami continued in a declarative tone. She stared at Shiori with an oppressive gaze. This time Shiori finally got a taste of what Wu Yan felt just now. Shiori hesitated for a while and then ate the dish that Tobi origami fed her. She chewed it with a strange expression. Tobi origami then sent another dish to her mouth. Chapter 442. Looking at Shiori sullenly accepting Tabichi origami's feeding, Wu Yan didn't feel happy at all. Instead he felt a deep sense of sympathy for Shiori. Although Tashichi origami was also a cute girl, the pressure of having no subordinates was already very high. When he was facing it he almost broke out in a sweat, let alone Shiori. The scene in front of him and the way Tokichi origami looked at Wu Yan as if she was looking at a rival made Wu Yan very certain. Tokichi origami really became a lesbian. Wu Yan's thirst for gossip is burning. He's curious about what happened between Tabichi origami and the main character of this world for her to be so stubborn. In the original work she was constantly thinking about pushing down Itsuka Shido. In this world the main character became a Yuri girl due to the feminization of the main character. These two must have a dark history. With that thought in mind he stopped paying attention to the two lovey-dovey girls. Ignoring Shiori's pleading gaze he calmed down a bit. Shido, that guy is really strange. Tokichi origami said to Shido while eating her lunch. Even Shiori became a bit strange. Let's not worry about it, Shiori isn't in any danger anyway. Wu Yan said. Inside he's grumbling. For Shiori this is probably the biggest crisis she's going to face. Her sexual orientation was changed. At this moment. The warning signs of a spacequake have been detected in this area. Please go to a nearby shelter as soon as possible. This is not a training, this is a real warning. Please go to a nearby shelter as soon as possible. Please go to a nearby shelter as soon as possible. I repeat, the warning signs of a spacequake have been detected in this area. The shrill warning sound from outside the window made everyone in the classroom, except for Tokichi origami, stop what they were doing and look outside the window. That included Wu Yan and Tokichi origami. Spacequake warning. Shiori was shocked and stood up from her seat. Keeping the chopsticks in her hand, Tabichi origami walked out of the classroom without saying a word. She didn't even say a word to the others and disappeared from the classroom door. This made Shiori unhappy. What? Student Genie, no matter why is her behavior always so strange? Last time she didn't pay attention to anyone and this time it's the same. To think that I thought that she really wanted to be with us. No, not with you, it's with... Ah, that's right. Wu Yan stood up from his seat and looked at Tokichi who was still calmly eating. He helplessly pulled her up. Shiori, take Tokichi origami to a shelter. Shelter. Tokichi origami's head tilted in confusion, she didn't seem to understand why. Shiori heard Wu Yan's words. Heda, what about you? I have something important to do. Wu Yan patted Shiori's shoulder and said to Tokichi origami, Tokichi origami, be a good girl and don't run around. You have to go with Shiori, okay? Hey. Tokichi origami said unwillingly. I want to go with you, Shido. Wu Yan bitterly smiled. It's not that he didn't want to take Tokichi origami with him. After all, Tokichi origami was not the original Tokichi origami who was unstable after her power was sealed. In this world, Tokichi origami was wearing the sealing ring. As long as Wu Yan wanted to, Tokichi origami could release 100% of her power at any time. If he didn't want to, he could also seal her power back in an instant. Compared to the unreliable original where he had to worry about losing control of his power, Tokichi origami's seal was different. In this world, bringing Tokichi origami with him is equivalent to bringing a powerful ally. However, in the original work, Tokichi origami had seen the protagonist interact with the descending elf and developed a great deal of jealousy. Although the main reason was because the protagonist accidentally kissed the elf and Tokichi origami saw it, Wu Yan didn't want such a scene to happen to him. In order to prevent any accidents, it's better not to bring Tokichi origami with him this time. Tokichi Origami, have you forgotten? Wu Yan smiled at Tokichi Origami and said confidently, I am very strong. 10 Fragrance was startled. Only then did she remember that the man in front of her had blocked her attack the first time she met him. Even if that attack was done casually by her, an ordinary human would definitely not be able to block it. At that moment 10 Incense could only mutter. I understand. Wu Yan nodded and looked at Shiori. Shiori, I'll leave Tokichi Origami in your care. Be careful. Shiori said. She didn't object to Wu Yan's actions anymore. Even so, it's still a little irrational for someone who doesn't know anything. He's also a little worried. Under the gaze of the two girls, Wu Yan ran out of the classroom and headed outside. No one noticed that after Wu Yan turned a corner, his body flashed with an illusory light. After the light flashed, Wu Yan's figure disappeared from the spot, above Heavenly Palace City inside Fraxinus. The automatic door to the command room opened and Wu Yan ran in, attracting everyone's attention. After all, Wu Yan is the most important part of Ratatosker's strategy against the elves. On the command platform, Kotori, who is wearing a black ribbon, saw Wu Yan's arrival in her commander mode. However, unlike the others, Kotori's face is cold. She looked at Wu Yan with a dangerous glint in her red eyes. It's like she's looking at a bitter enemy. He can't wait to bite off a piece of flesh from this person. It was natural for her to react this way. Commander mode Kotori wasn't as soft as little sister mode Kotori. She hated Kirin for kissing her so much that her teeth were itching. Last time he had seen her naked in the bathroom. This time he had stolen her first kiss. What about the next time? Next time wouldn't he push her onto the bed? Kotori had the urge to cut this hateful bastard into pieces for the sake of her chastity. However, the most helpless thing was that she was too easy to bully when she was in little sister mode. She was seen naked by this guy and even kissed by force. She actually developed a little bit of feelings for him. Could it be that this guy was really the god of strategy who specialized in attacking elves? Even a human with elven power like me can't avoid being conquered? Kotori sighed and inadvertently glanced at the sealing bracelet on her body. Perhaps everything was already decided the moment she put on the sealing bracelet. Who knows, maybe everything was already decided the moment she put it on. Wu Yan didn't know about Kotori's complicated thoughts. He ran into the command room and looked at the screen. He looked at the descending elf. Captain. You're here. Yuki Chinyu stood beside Wu Yan. As Wu Yan's assistant, he has to cooperate with Wu Yan. Wu Yan narrowed his eyes as he stared at the small green figure on the screen. This is the elf this time? Yes, Captain. Yuki Chinyu said. His name is Hermit. In terms of danger level, he's much weaker than Toka and Tokazaki Kurumi. Then Yatsuki Chinyu retreated to Wu Yan's side and he asked. Captain, are you confident we can take down this elf? Well. Wu Yan chuckled. Just wait and see. Yes, Captain. Yuki Chinyu said respectfully. Do you need me to do anything? Wu Yan nodded and he looked at Yatsuki Chinyu with a serious expression. Prepare a lollipop for me. Yuki Chinyu. Everyone present. Chapter 443. On the big screen in the command room, a small figure with a height of about 144 centimeters wearing a green bunny ears and a hooded cloak was standing in the middle of a large crater. She was holding a doll in her hand. Her entire body was shrouded in green light. Under the sci-fi rendering on the big screen, she looked like a character from a painting. That's the elf who descended this time. Her identification name is Hermit. She's a little lowly. While the atmosphere in the command room was tense with Wu Yan, a red alarm flashed on the big screen. It startled the Ratatosker members on the left and right of the screen. Commander. He has arrived. As soon as the voice fell, the people in the command room saw a large number of light spots flying from afar towards Hermit, who was standing in the middle of the crater. When their armor-like attire was imprinted in everyone's eyes, they raised their weapons at the same time. In the next moment, countless cannon fire blasted towards the small figure in the middle of the crater. Under the watchful eyes of every member of Ratatosker, the little green figure flew out from the deep crater that was shrouded in smoke and artillery fire. It dashed out of the encirclement of Ice-T, but what greeted it was an even fiercer barrage of artillery fire. For a moment, the entire sky was filled with the sound of cannon fire. The Hermit was flying rapidly under the cover of the cannon fire. The sound of the Hermit flying through the air to avoid the attacks also soared into the sky. Under the gray clouds, the light of the fire kept flashing. Looking at the small figure who was constantly struggling under the cannon fire without any resistance, Wu Yan's heart was filled with anger. An inexplicable murderous glint flashed across his wine-red eyes. The temperature of the scene suddenly dropped to freezing point. Everyone in the command room felt a chill run down their spines. At this moment, Wu Yan's favorable impression of AST dropped by dozens of points. Since the other party was an elf and they were only following orders, it was their duty. However, if they could indiscriminately attack a little girl like this, at least Wu Yan could not use such a rational reason to convince himself to understand AST. Sure Dao. Feeling the pressure coming from Wu Yan, Coterie hurriedly called out to him, telling him to calm down. Otherwise, the ordinary people in the command room would have to lie on the ground. Captain. Yatsuki Chinyu patted Wu Yan's shoulder. Wu Yan's aura is only a tiny bit, but Yatsuki Chinyu is just a normal person. It's no wonder Coterie assigned Yatsuki Chinyu as her assistant if he can remain calm under such a small amount of aura. He was the combat officer, and as the assistant of the combat officer, how could Yue Chinyu not have any combat ability? Wu Yan came back to his senses and noticed the heavy expressions on the faces of the people in the command room. He took a deep breath and slowly calmed down the anger in his heart. Coterie. Wu Yan turned to Coterie, and for the first time in the command room his face was serious. Give the order for the next operation. That child, I must bring her back. Coterie smiled. Even if it was just a small smile, it was enough to let others feel how happy Coterie was at this time. As expected of my brother. Coterie suddenly stood up, and the aura of a superior spread from her petite body throughout the command room. There was no doubt that at this moment Coterie's body was full of endless majesty. Everyone, prepare for the first level of the strategy. Yes. Everyone present was infected by the pressure and majesty displayed by this pair of siblings. Their blood was boiling and there was a fire burning in their hearts. Everyone's face was flushed red and they were eager to give it a try. The atmosphere in the command room was also raised to the highest point. Coterie turned to look at Yue Chinyu below the platform. Sure Dao, you are in charge of full support. Yes. Commander. Yue Chinyu ran out of the command room, and before that, when Coterie gave the first order, Wu Yan already ran out of the command room. Coterie looked at the excited people in the room and she smiled with satisfaction, looked up at the big screen, Hermit, and her eyes were burning with fire. Let's start the war between us. Heavenly Palace City, under a commercial building, two figures surfaced from a corner. They raised their heads and looked at the commercial building in front of them. After which they scanned their surroundings. Although the surroundings were very quiet and there was not even a single person in sight, the two of them knew that if they were not careful, this quiet place would be bombarded with countless cannon fire. Is that Loli in here? Without turning his head, Wu Yan rubbed his chin and asked Yatsuki Chinyu who is behind him. Haha. Yue Chinyu laughed, no longer paying attention to the word, little Loli in Wu Yan's mouth. His face became serious. Fraxinus has sent word that Hermit has indeed entered the house. The AST around the house has also entered standby mode. They seem to think that it's not worth destroying the house just to deal with Hermit. After all, the reconstruction work is not only troublesome, but also expensive. Unexpected reality. Wu Yan commented, then reached out his hand. Did you bring what I asked for? Yes. Yue Chinyu said a bit unnaturally, took out a lollipop from his pocket and gently put it in Wu Yan's hand. There's a trace of helplessness on his face. Wu Yan weighed the lollipop in his hand, his wine-red eyes looked at Yue Chinyu with deep meaning. You're quite good at taking out lollipop, you must have done this a lot, right? Yue Chinyu almost hit his head on the wall. Captain, can you not make this kind of joke? Wu Yan clicked his tongue. I'm praising you as a necessary skill for the 21st century's youth, to be able to practice it to such a level. Yue, you have a bright future. Yue Chinyu could only make an ugly smile. He said helplessly, Captain, are you sure you want to use this lollipop to deal with an elf? Yue, this is where you don't get it. Wu Yan patted Yue Chinyu's shoulder and he continued in a serious tone. Any creature that is related to Loli, even if it's a fairy, Lolita's destructive power is limitless. Is that so? Yue Chinyu's face was full of doubt, but since his captain said so, Yue Chinyu had nothing to say. Then I wish you success, Captain. Well, just wait and see. Therefore, from the corner, a lightning-like figure flew out from it and streaked across the sky. With a slight whoosh sound, the figure flashed into the commercial building in front of him, leaving behind a young girl who was struggling with the lethality of the lollipop. She was hesitant there. In the commercial building, Wu Yan pressed the wireless headset in his ear. He flew upstairs. He said, "Coterie, where's Hermit?" Coterie's voice came in not long after. "It's just one more level up. One floor up." Wu Yan looked ahead. "There's a big door at the corner." "Is it there?" It's in there." Yue Qinyu's voice came from a small communication device in Wu Yan's pocket. "Captain, ST's troops haven't shown any signs of movement, but there's no way to guarantee that they won't." Wu Yan nodded. He stood in front of the door and pushed it in without hesitation. Suddenly, a dark hall appeared in front of Wu Yan. Chapter 444. In the quiet floor, the darkness completely isolated this area. Walking here, one could clearly hear their own footsteps and even a trace of echoes. Around them, there were some mannequins standing in different postures. In the dark environment, these mannequins seemed to be shrouded in a layer of shadow and coldness, making the atmosphere in the entire space a little strange. Even Wu Yan felt a bit nervous in this eerily silent environment. Perhaps every building has the potential to become a haunted house at night. Wu Yan looked around and tilted his head. "Where is she?" No, where is the elf?" Wu Yan pressed the wireless earpiece and asked, "Coterie, are you sure the elf will appear here? The environment here is pretty much the same as the original work." However, the original work didn't specify which building the lowly elf went into. Also, unlike the original work, Wu Yan didn't meet the elf before she descended. Thus, it wouldn't be strange if the plot changed. According to the results of the analysis, Hermit should be there. Can you be a little more patient? Don't tell me you're afraid? Wu Yan raised an eyebrow at Coterie's taunting. As expected, Commander Mode Coterie needs to be taught a lesson. Suddenly, a bunny doll fell from the sky in front of Wu Yan and hung upside down in front of Wu Yan. "Are you here to bully Yoshina too?" The sudden appearance of the doll in front of him and the voice gave him a fright. He almost shot out an electric shock gun. Luckily, Coterie's voice came from his wireless earpiece. Otherwise, things would have gotten out of hand. Looking at the bunny doll, Wu Yan lifted his head to look at the ceiling. He saw the sprite he once saw on the big screen, and now it's the sprite he saw on the big screen. It was a beautiful young girl who looked like a French doll. Her long blue hair was slightly curly, casually scattered in front and behind her, looking like two blue torrents. A green cloak with rabbit ears covered her small body, all the way to her calves. She wore a pair of green boots on her feet, and behind her, there was also a tail-like accessory connected to a white fur ball. At this moment, the rabbit-eared hoodie was still on her head, covering her head under the hoodie. As long as she lowered her head slightly, she would be able to cover the area above her nose. Under the hoodie, a pair of large eyes were looking forward. They were the same sky blue pupils that looked as if they were formed by a lake. It was very captivating. She has a dreamy appearance and a petite figure. She's about the same age as Flandre-chan. She's also holding a bunny doll with a black eye patch that looks like a pirate's eye patch on one of its eyes. Without a doubt, this was a very adorable little girl. In terms of appearance, even if there was an unconcealable immaturity, there was no way to hide her lovable temperament. Compared to little Flandre-chan, she was only on par with her. She was simply too adorable. Yoshino, level 70, Hermit. Yoshino, the water and ice elf. Looking at this girl who looks like she just walked out of a manga, she's a manga character. Even though he's been through the baptism of at least 10 girls who aren't any less beautiful than Yanban, Wu Yan couldn't help but be dazed for a moment. He has to admit this elf girl in front of him is too cute. After all, this is the first time he met her. The scene in front of him is the same as in real life. Of course, it was only for a moment, not even 0.1 seconds. The elf girl in front of Wu Yan didn't notice it. The fairy who was hanging upside down on the ceiling stared at Wu Yan with her blue eyes. He couldn't see any emotion in her eyes. It's as if she had nothing to do with this. She lifted her leg and landed on the floor. She looked at Wu Yan while raising the rabbit plushie in her hand. "She's Yoshino, so this is Yoshino, right?" Wu Yan narrowed his eyes as he looked at the single-eyed bunny doll in Yoshino's hand. "Don't think that this is just an ordinary bunny doll. This doll called Yoshino isn't an inanimate object. It's another personality created by Yoshino's spiritual power. In other words, there was an independent personality in this small doll. As long as Yoshino's spiritual power connected it to his hand, this independent personality would appear. This personality would replace Yoshino's introverted self to communicate with the surrounding things. Therefore, if one wanted to conquer Yoshino, then this puppet with an independent personality, Yoshino could not be ignored. Because if you want to come in contact with Yoshino, you have to go through Yoshino first. Oh yeah. Yoshino's mouth doesn't show any signs of moving, but a sharp voice came out from it. Coupled with Yoshino's exaggerated dance, it looks like she's talking. Why aren't you wearing any of those disgusting armors? Aren't you here to bully Yoshino? Before Wu Yan can say anything, Kotori's voice came out of the wireless earpiece. Shurdao, wait for a moment. Let us help you analyze how to carry out the conversation to achieve the best effect. Wu Yan couldn't stay calm after hearing Kotori's words. Let those old men who are lazy and can only go to nightclubs, and those women who specialize in beating up villains and are under observation help me conquer Yoshino? Why don't you just ask me to throw this little lowly out of the window and reduce her favorability to 0? Kotori, no. Before Wu Yan can finish, a voice came from the other side of the earpiece. Sprite data loaded into inventory. Analysis AI activated. Commander. The analysis AI is responding. Options have appeared. Okay. Kotori said, let's begin. As soon as Kotori's voice came out, Wu Yan turned off the wireless earpiece in his ear. Countless Qing characters appeared on his forehead. You can see how Wu Yan is feeling right now. Wu Yan turned to look at Xiao Karen and the bunny doll standing in front of him. He sighed and took a few steps forward. Can I talk to her for a bit? Wu Yan pointed at Yoshino while looking at Yoshino's plushie. Yoshino and Yoshino were startled at the same time. They were unable to react to what was going on. Could it be that the person in front of them knew about the matter between the two of us? Ah, Yoshino doesn't understand. What are you talking about? Yoshino said while dancing as if she's trying to hide something. It's like she really doesn't understand Wu Yan's words. However, there's a hint of unnaturalness in her tone. Wu Yan stared at Yoshino with his wine-red eyes and said with a smile, do you want this little sprite to hide behind your back for the rest of your life? Wu Yan's words stunned Yoshino. She froze on the spot, unable to do anything. From the outside she looks like a normal doll that can't move. Wu Yan continued in a gentle tone. You've been the one who's been communicating with the outside world on her behalf, right? As a friend who has been by her side day and night, you should know how important your existence is in her heart. Because without you she can't do anything. At least that's what she thinks. Don't you want her to change? Don't you want her to be able to communicate with someone else? Chapter 445. Don't tell me you don't want her to change? Don't you want her to communicate with others? Hearing Wu Yan's words, Sharona was silent. How could Shino not understand the situation of the two of them? Sharona is a docile and timid person. She almost doesn't dare to talk to people directly. She's very afraid of humans. She's so afraid that just a little contact will make her shrink her body like a snail. Because of this, Sharona was born. Due to Yoshino's extremely introverted character, he would usually communicate with others through Yoshino. When it came to external matters, Yoshino would also be the one to deal with it. However, due to Yoshino being the one to deal with external matters, Yoshino himself did not have the slightest bit of contact with others. This caused Yoshino's mind, which was originally afraid of strangers, to directly enter a closed state. Just like what Wu Yan said, Sharona knows what kind of position she has in Shiona's heart. It can be said that Sharona herself is Shiona's goal. Because Sharona is weak and timid, Sharona, who has a strong personality and is cheerful and talkative, is equivalent to spiritual support in Shiona's heart. Once she loses Shiona's support, Sharona will easily panic as if she has lost everything. Even her mental state will be a bit off. At this time, as long as there's a little stimulation, Sharona will lose her mind and reflexively attack. However, Sharona is a docile person. In her heart, she actually hopes that she won't hurt anyone because Sharona is a person who hates pain and fear very much. So, Sharona doesn't want to bring pain and fear to others. Sharona can't leave Shiona's side because she will be afraid. Once she's afraid, her spirit energy will go out of control and hurt others. Sharona was born by relying on Sharona. Once she leaves Shiona's hand without the support of Shiona's spirit energy, she will fall into a state of slumber and can't appear. The two of them rely on each other and support each other. Actually, Shitonai knew that the reason why Shitonai treated her as his spiritual support was because of her personality. Shitonai deeply longed for her personality. In Shitonai's heart, she hoped that she could be as strong as Shitonai and not be so cowardly. But the problem is Sharona doesn't dare to communicate with others. How can she become strong? That's why when Wu Yan said, "Don't you want her to change? Don't you want her to be able to communicate with someone else?" Shino fell silent. How could it not want to toughen up the four genii? This is Shiona's wish. Of course, after thinking so much, it was only a moment of silence outside. Sharona has already raised her head and said to Wu Yan, Why do you know so many things about Sharona?" Hearing Shiona's words, Wu Yan smiled and said, "Don't worry about that. I just want to ask you, do you want this little elf to change? I don't need you to care about Shiona's matters." Sharona said in an unfriendly tone, "You humans bully Sharona every time and almost hurt Sharona every time. Why should Sharona believe you humans?" Hearing this, Wu Yan sighed. "Indeed, I don't have anything worthy of your trust, but I trust you." "Trust us?" Sharona is stunned. "Yes." Wu Yan nodded firmly. "I believe that an elf like Sharona is definitely not a bad guy. So, I want to help you." As soon as he finished speaking, the entire place fell into silence. Although there is no way to see any changes on Shiona's body except for her tone, Wu Yan can feel that Sharona is carefully observing him, sizing him up. Not long after, Sharona said, "Why do you trust Sharona?" Wu Yan chuckled, raised his head and looked at the ceiling. "Because in my home there is such a kind, pure and adorable elf." "There is an elf in your home?" This time Sharona is surprised. "Impossible. Aren't humans very hostile to elves?" "So they have been attacking elves. And elves are also very hostile to humans because humans are constantly attacking elves. How can humans and elves live together?" Indeed, in the beginning she was very hostile to humans. Wu Yan bitterly smiled and shook his head, but then he smiled and said, "But when she recognized the gentleness of this world, she became my family." "The gentleness of this world?" "Yes." Wu Yan nodded and said, "Among elves there is Sharona and Sharona who are gentle and kind. Among humans there are also people who are not hostile to elves, but you haven't met such people before, so you are afraid and hostile to humans. Now I am here. As long as you trust me, then in this world no one will bring you pain and fear." Looking at the smiling Wu Yan in front of her, Sharona lowered her head and became silent again. Following Shino's silence, this space once again became silent. In this dark environment, only the faint sound of breathing could be heard clearly. It wasn't until a long time later that Sharona said, "Sharona in fact also hopes that she can be strong, and Sharona also hopes that Sharona can be strong." After that, Sharona raised her head and looked at Wu Yan. Can you help Sharona?" Wu Yan smiled. "Of course." After pondering for a moment, Sharona said, "But what should I do to make Sharona change? That's why I want to talk to her." Wu Yan shifted his gaze from Yoshino to the quiet Yoshino. He didn't know if she didn't hear anything or if she couldn't understand their conversation. He continued, "I want her to know that interacting with others is a very joyful thing." "Happy," Sharona muttered softly and then looked at Wu Yan. What should I do?" Scratching his face, Wu Yan nodded and said to Sharona, "If possible, I hope you can leave Sharona for a while." "What?" Calm down, I have my reasons." Wu Yan quickly said, "Think about it, as long as you are by Shiona's side, Sharona will not take the initiative to communicate with others and entrust everything to you, right? In that case, if you are not here, Sharona will have to use her own mouth to communicate with others. This way she can slowly change Sharona." "But..." Sharona hesitated. She had no choice but to hesitate. She knew very well what would happen to Sharona if she left. To put it bluntly, once she left, Sharona would be afraid. If something went wrong, this place would very likely be razed to the ground by Sharona. This was not only what Sharona didn't want, but also what Sharona didn't want. How could Sharona be at ease and leave Sharona alone? As if seeing through Shiona's heart, Wu Yan said softly, "Don't worry, leave everything to me. Soon you will be together again. Moreover, the next time you face me, you won't be alone but together with Sharona." Staring at Wu Yan for a long time, Sharona finally nodded her head. The corner of his mouth raised into a smile, and at the same time he breathed a sigh of relief. He stretched out his hand and directly took Sharona from Shiona's hand. Chapter 446. The moment Shitonai left Shitonai's hand, Shitonai's blue eyes went blank. Then she collapsed to the ground as if her life force had left her body. She stared blankly at Shitonai in Wu Yan's hand. She was speechless. A moment later, Yoshino's big eyes suddenly fluctuated, and his little face immediately became incomparably flustered. With a face full of bewilderment, he stood up from the ground. She ran to Wu Yan and tightly grabbed Wu Yan's clothes. She looked at Shitonai in Wu Yan's hand and whispered, "Please, please, give it back to me." His wine-red eyes were filled with Shitonai's helpless and pitiful little face. Seeing Shitonai's flustered expression, Wu Yan felt an inexplicable pain in his heart. He suddenly felt guilty as if he had done something unforgivable. Wu Yan quickly rubbed the little loli's head and said softly, "Don't be afraid, don't be afraid. Shitonai won't leave you." Hearing this, the panic on Siyu's little face calmed down. However, her blue eyes were still filled with nervousness. She did not know what to do next. Wu Yan lowered his body. The wine-red and blue eyes looked at each other. Then Wu Yan said, "Shitonai should have heard my conversation with Shitonai." Shitonai stared blankly at Wu Yan for a while. After a long time, Shitonai slowly nodded her little head. The bunnies on her head also nodded. Coupled with Shitonai's cute lilicon face, it almost made Wu Yan's nose itch. Wu Yan awkwardly rubbed his nose. After making sure he didn't lose his composure, he exhaled and said to Shitonai, "Then you should know that Shitonai wants you to be strong. That's why she chose to leave you temporarily. Now that you want to take Shitonai back, do you want to disappoint Shitonai?" "I don't want to disappoint Shitonai. That's more like it." Wu Yan squatted down and rubbed Yono's head through the hood of her cloak. "So, in order to not disappoint Shitonai, leave Shitonai with me first, okay?" Seeing that Shitonai was still a little flustered, Wu Yan smiled and said, "Shitonai, as long as you listen to me today, I'll return Shitonai to you tomorrow. How about it?" "Is that true?" Yono tightened her grip on Wu Yan's shirt. Her eyes were filled with anticipation and nervousness. Seeing how cute Shitonai was, Wu Yan couldn't help but smile. Of course it's true. After all, Shitonai is Shitonai's hero. She's also Shitonai's ideal self, right? Shitonai blinked her eyes and nodded with a slightly red face. Then, as if to confirm, she nodded again. He was really cute. Wu Yan smiled and stroked Shitonai's hair. He looked straight into Shitonai's eyes and said, "Then today you have to work hard." Hearing Wu Yan's words, Shitonai became anxious. "He'll be alone." "Don't worry." Wu Yan smiled and shook his head. He said softly, "Even without Shitonai, your hero will not disappear. At least for today, let me be Shitonai's hero." Shitonai raised her head and looked at Wu Yan's face. Shitonai's blue eyes flickered. Then she nodded. "You're pretty good." In the command room of Fraxinus, Kotori couldn't help but smile as she watched the progress on the big screen. More than 2/3 of the favorability points had filled up the progress bar of Fraxinus favorability points. As expected of the commander's older brother, Kanazuki Kuhei looked at Wu Yan on the screen like he was on a pilgrimage. He almost knelt down and put an incense stick in his mouth. Even though he's a fake, not everyone can fake the commander's older brother. Kotori's smile widened when she heard Kuhei's words. She froze when she heard Kuhei's words. It's a good thing he's the commander's brother. He won't do anything to the commander. Otherwise, the commander might have been taken down by him too. Kanazuki Kuhei patted his chest. He didn't notice Kotori's darkened expression and continued talking to himself. Well, that's true. Even if he's a fake, they're still siblings. Why would he lay his hands on his sister? Even if he did, the commander wouldn't fall for his older brother. It's not like he's a prostitute. As soon as he said that, a giant foot came down from the sky and kicked Kuhei in the face, sending him flying and crashing into the wall behind him. "But why?" Kanazuki Kuhei said as he collapsed against the wall. Kotori's face was livid as she stared at Kuhei. Thinking about what he said, Kotori's anger rose even higher. "Why? How dare he ask why? What do you mean he won't lay his hands on his sister? That guy did it with his mouth. Also, what did he mean by, it's not like he's a prostitute? Isn't that the same as calling me a prostitute?" Kotori completely forgot that Kuhei said, "It's not like he's a prostitute," under the premise that he won't fall for his older brother. Kotori snorted and looked back at the screen. Her face reddened as she thought of something. As for Kyuhei, he fainted. Inside the commercial building, Yatsuki Chinyu stared blankly at the cute loli hiding behind Wu Yan. He still hasn't recovered from the shock. No way. Yatsuki Chinyu's lips twitched. He couldn't stay calm. That's it? Oh my god, it's only been 15 minutes. Time isn't going to stop my great career. Wu Yan looked at Yatsuki Chinyu with disdain. Ever since Wu Yan found out that there's a real man under that pretty face, he's been a lot more casual with Yatsuki Chinyu. Yatsuki Chinyu didn't care about Wu Yan's disdain. Instead, he looked at Wu Yan with admiration. Captain, how did you do it? Please teach me. Wu Yan pursed his lips and smiled. He didn't answer Yatsuki Chinyu's question. Instead, he pointed at Yoshino and pushed Yoshino, who was hiding behind him, a little bit so that Yoshino's head was exposed to Yatsuki Chinyu's eyes. Yatsuki Chinyu was petrified. At this moment, Yoshino was holding a lollipop in his hand. He was slowly licking it. Although there was no expression on his face, one could faintly see a bit of joy in his blue eyes. Yatsuki Chinyu's mouth opened into an O shape. Don't tell me he was defeated by a lollipop? After that, Yatsuki Chinyu looked at Wu Yan. At this moment, Yatsuki Chinyu's admiration for his captain was like the water of the Yangtze River. No wonder he's called the god of strategy by all the members of Ratatosker. After that, Yatsuki Chinyu secretly glanced at Yoshino, who was licking the lollipop. He secretly remembered this trick in his mind. Chapter 447. Opposite the commercial building, on the top floor of a building, two AST girls were standing there with weapons in their hands, glaring at the opposite side like a tiger watching its prey. One of the two AST members was Kyuchi Origami, and the other was a mature woman around 25 years old. She was the captain of the AST frontline unit. What about the permission to attack? Yuichi Origami said expressionlessly as usual. However, from her pair of blue eyes, one could see a trace of impatience. It was as if as long as elves existed in front of her eyes for a second, she would not be able to tolerate them. The captain of SE seemed to have gotten used to the former's way of speaking, so he replied nonchalantly, I don't think so for the time being. After all, our opponent is that cowardly hermit. It's not worth it for us to destroy such a big building and send out a reconstruction team. It's different from that powerful Princess Pasha. After saying that, she seemed to have thought of something and turned to look at Tokichi Origami. But it's really unbelievable. No matter how you look at it, there's a girl who looks like a princess who transferred to Dulizen High School that you're studying in. Not only is she in the same class as you, but there's also no elfin reaction on her, and there's nothing suspicious about her household registration. What's going on? The captain of AST didn't know that all of this was Ratatosker's handiwork. Ratatosker had activated the political protection plan against the elves, completely concealing her identity and hiding among the masses. As long as Toka didn't show any psychic waves, AST would at most treat her as a girl who looked like a princess. There would be nothing suspicious about her, and AST would have an excuse to kill the wrong person rather than let her go. From this, one could see how brilliant Ratatosker was. Perhaps AST didn't know that they had an opponent hiding in the dark. Unfortunately, the powerful Ratatosker had a commander who was usually very astute but would occasionally go against nature. As a result, a certain true ancestor would be shot when he was walking. Tabichi Origami opened her mouth slightly when she heard her captain. After a while, she regained her expressionless face and looked at the building in front of her. No one knows what she's thinking. It was not until a certain moment that a voice came from their radio that the two of them turned their attention back to the conversation. Captain. Hermit spotted. The two of them froze at the same time and turned their heads to look in the direction of the commercial building. Then the two of them quickly discovered a green figure running out of the commercial building and running towards the other side of the street. The captain of AST could not help but frown. Hermit has come out of hiding? Why isn't there any psychic wave? Moreover, why didn't they fly but run instead? While the captain of AST was muttering, Toichi Origami stomped on the ground and fired the propellers on her back at full power. She flew towards the green silhouette on the ground at full speed. Wait. The captain of AST was shocked. He gritted his teeth and shouted, This origami kite always acts without permission. Seeing that Koichi Origami was already on the move, the captain of AST could not let him deal with the elves alone, so he could only follow. Everyone. Suddenly, the sound of ejectors firing continuously rang out from the top of the buildings surrounding the commercial building. They rushed towards the green figure running on the ground. At the same time, continuous artillery fire also rang out. The originally undamaged street was mercilessly attacked by the cannons. The sound of explosions echoed through the sky and smoke covered the entire street. After the cannon fire subsided, the previously undamaged street became riddled with holes. Amidst the smoke, the green figure rushed out. Other than some dust on her body, nothing else happened to her. Seeing this, Yi no longer hesitated and continued to fire at the figure on the ground. However, under the barrage of attacks, the green figure was like a vigorous warrior. He dodged left and right, dodging the incoming attacks. At the same time, he continued to move forward unwaveringly. It was this movement that allowed him to evade the earth-shattering barrage of attacks. The AST captain clenched his teeth as he looked at the heavily damaged street. His heart was filled with hatred. Originally, AST did not want to cause too much damage to the cowardly hermit. That was why they did not make a move when Hermit entered the commercial building. Who would have thought that Hermit would be so cunning? Instead of attacking them from the sky, he chose to run on the ground like a rat, causing damage to the streets. It seems that the reconstruction team will have to be mobilized this time. Flying in the sky, Origami Kitsune mercilessly pulled the trigger of her cannon. She continuously fired at the green figure on the ground. Seeing the figure nimbly dodging the cannons, Origami Kitsune frowned. She felt that something was wrong. However, Yuichi Origami's hatred for the elves quickly suppressed the uneasiness in his heart. Yuichi Origami's figure flashed, and the frequency of the heavy cannon in his hand increased by a few notches. What Origami didn't know was that the feeling she had in her heart was right. If one were to take a closer look, they would notice that the green figure running on the ground was twice as tall as Hermit. Unfortunately, the AST members could only vaguely see a green silhouette flying high up in the sky. They were unable to discern its exact height. On the ground, the figure in the green cloak was dodging the incoming cannon fire as she dashed into the distance. From the perspective of the AST members, a beautiful face was buried in the green cloak. She looked like she was about to cry, but no tears came out. 10 minutes ago. What? Yuechinyu looked at the green cloak in his captain's hand in disbelief. He shouted. You want me to distract Essie? Is there a problem? Wu Yan said matter-of-factly. Yuechinyu almost jumped up. There's a big problem, Captain. It's not like you don't know how strong AST's firepower is. Even the elves might not be able to avoid it. If you want me to go, won't I die? Well, don't say that. Wu Yan smiled and patted Yuechinyu's shoulder. You might not be as strong as the elves, but I believe you can still avoid them. If you can't even do that, Kotori wouldn't have arranged for you to be my assistant. But Captain, isn't it safer for you to come? I have no problem with that. Wu Yan pursed his lips at Yoshino. As long as you have the confidence to appease Yoshino. Yuechinyu recalled the conversation 10 minutes ago. Yuechinyu was sweating profusely while dodging the cannons. Why don't I have the ability to pick up girls? As Yuechinyu ran for his life, the AST members gradually disappeared at the end of the street. Inside the commercial building, Wu Yan held Yono's hand as he strutted out of the building. He looked at the rubble on the street and he silently prayed Amen. Brother. Shido. Yoshino said uneasily. Is that person okay? Wu Yan smiled. It's okay. That uncle won't die that easily. Uncle. Well, you can call him that from now on. Chapter 448. Heavenly Palace City, Itsuka's house. Wu Yan pushed open the door to his house. He led Yoshino, who was looking around nervously, into the living room. At this time, Wu He's house was very quiet. There was not a single person in the hall. This was to be expected. Shirji and Toka had taken refuge when the spacequake alarm sounded. Even though the alarm had been lifted, it would still take a while for them to return home. Kotori is still on the command deck talking to Wu Yan through the radio. Shido, can't you seal Yoshino's power now? Kotori asked in confusion. As far as she knows, the sealing bracelet isn't as troublesome as Shiori's ability. He needs to raise favorability first before sealing the elf's power. Wu Yan shook his head and said helplessly, the sealing bracelet isn't as troublesome as Shiori's ability. In some ways it's much more troublesome. Much more troublesome? Yes. Wu Yan nodded and walked towards the living room while talking to Kotori in a way Yoshino can't see. To use the sealing ring, you must first clearly explain the ability of the sealing ring to the other party. Then the other party must be willing to put it on for it to take effect. Otherwise, no matter how strong your ability is, you won't be able to put the sealing ring on an elf. Wu Yan glanced at Yono, who is gripping his hand tightly. She looked anxious and he sighed. Fourth Bonai, on the other hand, has a rather delicate personality. If we rashly tell her the ability of the sealing bracelet without a certain foundation of feelings and explain our purpose, it might cause her to subconsciously panic, and then her spiritual energy might completely go berserk. This is going to be troublesome. Kotori felt a headache coming on. Wu Yan and Yoshino's conversation was captured on the big screen in the command room. Based on their conversation and Yoshino's cowardly behavior, Wu Yan's claim is entirely plausible. Then what should we do? Kotori asked. Maybe Kotori didn't notice that her independent and shrewd self is starting to rely more and more on Wu Yan when it comes to making decisions. Wu Yan chuckled and he consoled her. Ma, don't worry about it too much. Yoshino is an easy person to get along with. Think about Shikisaki Kurumi. Yoshino isn't that hard to deal with. Hearing this, Kotori couldn't help but think of that arrogant time elf. Her head that was originally a little headache really got a lot better, and her complexion also became better. This made Rain Murasame stare at her for a while until Kotori felt embarrassed. Wu Yan smiled as if he predicted Kotori's reaction. Do you feel better now? Don't worry. Don't worry, I'm confident I can put the sealing bracelet on Yoshino before tomorrow. In the command room, Kotori looked at the confident Wu Yan on the big screen. She couldn't help but feel a sense of security when she heard Wu Yan's confident words. Ever since Kotori became the commander of Ratatoskr, this is the first time she felt such a sense of security other than when she's in sister mode. Kotori suddenly had a thought. Maybe it's not so bad to have a big brother like him. Kotori couldn't help but have this thought. In the past, Kotori had the support of Kanazuki Kuhei and Rain Murasame, but most of the time, Kotori was the only one in charge of Ratatoskr's affairs. Internally, I have to save the elves and externally I have to deal with the AST. No matter what, Kotori is only 14 years old. Even if I'm in commander mode, it's only natural for me to feel tired when dealing with the affairs of a large organization. Wu Yan's appearance as a big brother is unprecedented. Kotori felt like she could rely on him. In Ratatoskr he managed to conquer the elf that gave her a headache in 10 minutes. At home he's a good cook. His combat prowess is on par with the elves. Although his personality is a bit unsettling, it's undeniable that Kotori is slowly starting to accept him as her big brother. She's starting to rely on him. Kotori doesn't hate this feeling. But when Kotori realized that she had such thoughts, she was startled. Could it be that this big brother whom she had only known for less than a month had become so important to her? Thinking of this, Kotori blushed. She couldn't help but feel shy and rebellious. To put it simply, she was being too proud. How can I not worry about a scum like you? Kotori didn't even think before she said it. Wu Yan's confident smile froze. He said angrily, I say, Kotori, even if you don't trust me, you don't have to call me a scum. Kotori's mood improved a lot when she saw Wu Yan's angry face. She continued to mock him. Ah, aren't you a scum? Then who was the one who did that? That thing last night. Kotori started blushing when she recalled Ripple from last night. Wu Yan didn't see this, but he couldn't refute Kotori's words, so he just stood there, speechless. Forget it, I'm the one who did it anyway. It doesn't matter if I lose the argument. Thinking of this, Wu Yan's expression lightened up. He shifted his attention away from the radio and looked at the 4 elements. Hey Yoshino, sit here for a bit. Wu Yan brought Yoshino to the sofa. I'll make you something to eat. You should be hungry, right? Hearing that, just as Yoshino wanted to shake his head, a clear and audible rumbling sound came from his stomach, causing Yoshino's face to redden. He took off his hat and covered his face. He was so embarrassed that he didn't dare to look at anyone. Wu Yan was amused by Yoshino's cute behavior. He held back his laughter and scratched Yoshino's little nose. Wait for a bit, it'll be ready soon. Yoshino nodded with a red face. Wu Yan laughed and walked into the kitchen. After a while, a fragrant smell wafted out of the kitchen. Children's endurance was always relatively small. Even Yoshino was no exception. Smelling such a good smell, Yoshino couldn't help but turn around and look at the kitchen. Wu Yan shook his head with a smile when he saw Yoshino's covetous expression. As expected, she's just a child. Wu Yan didn't know how much of a charm his cooking has on other people. Whether it's Hinajiku, Mikoto, or Toka, they couldn't help but crave his cooking because it's just too delicious. In a way, cooking master might be the strongest ability among all the abilities that Wu Yan exchanged for. Even the members of Ratatosker in the command room of Fraxinus swallowed their saliva at the sight of the delicious dishes on the big screen. Coterie, who knew how delicious the dishes were, couldn't help but tremble at the sight of them. When the strange sound entered Wu Yan's ears through the wireless earpiece, Wu Yan knew what's going on. He laughed and said, "Come back if you want to eat, it's not like I won't let you eat." Hearing this, Coterie couldn't hold herself back any longer. She jumped off the podium and ran out of the room. Everyone in the command room looked at each other when they saw Coterie's reaction. Chapter 449. At this moment, two delicate voices suddenly rang out from the main entrance. "I'm back." The moment the voice rang out, Siyu, who was sitting on the sofa, jumped in fright. Her small face immediately became incomparably flustered. Her head looked left and right as if she was looking for a place to hide. For a moment she was actually at a loss of what to do. When the footsteps began to sound and were getting closer and closer, the corners of Yoshino's eyes couldn't help but tear up. She really didn't know what to do, so she lowered her head. At the same time, a cold air was emitted from Yoshino's body. In the space around Yoshino, the cold air was like steam slowly rising, causing the temperature of the entire hall to drop a lot. On the sofa where Yoshino was sitting, thin sheets of ice directly formed. In the kitchen, as soon as he heard the sound outside the door, Wu Yan secretly knew that it was not good because he knew that with Yoshino's personality, it was already very difficult for her to face him. If it wasn't for Yoshino's words, Yoshino would have already gone berserk like the original. At this time, Yoshino's mood, who had lost Yoshino, was undoubtedly very unstable. And in such an unstable mood, if a stranger appeared, then with Yoshino's timid personality, there was a 90% chance that her spiritual power would directly go out of control. As expected, hearing the approach of a stranger, Yoshino's heart began to fear, and with this fear her spiritual power really went out of control. Looking at the cold air that began to spread to the surroundings, Wu Yan quickly flashed. In the blink of an eye, he appeared beside Yoshino and hugged Yoshino. Almost as soon as this small body entered his hands, an extremely cold air was transmitted from the small body in his arms into Wu Yan's body, causing Wu Yan to groan, and his whole body couldn't help but tremble. Yoshino was also greatly frightened. In the midst of panic, she was hugged by someone. Anyone would be more afraid, and Yoshino was the same. Immediately, one of Yoshino's hands was raised. On top of it, a dense cold air flickered. However, in the next moment, Yoshino's hand that was filled with dense cold air stopped, and the cold air on it also dissipated. Yoshino calmed down. Resisting the corrosion of the cold air that entered her body, and allowing it to be like an electric current that destroyed her body everywhere, Wu Yan fiercely clenched her teeth, and with a trembling voice she tightened her body, trying to use her body temperature to make Yoshino feel a little safer. "Those people are Big Brother's family, they won't hurt Yoshino, so Yoshino, listen, you have to become strong." Hearing the trembling voice that came from her body, Yoshino's mind finally calmed down, and the panic in her eyes also began to slowly dissipate. The consciousness that she nearly lost due to fear also gradually returned to her mind, allowing Yoshino to regain her senses. After regaining her senses, Yoshino realized what she had done. Looking at the sofa that had turned into ice, and the body that was hugging her and trembling non-stop, Yoshino panicked again. That. Yoshino looked at the slightly pale face of Wu Yan and said helplessly, I'm sorry. Gently exhaling, following Yoshino's recovery, the surrounding cold air also disappeared, and the cold air that invaded Wu Yan's body was the same. The internal organs that were frozen by the cold air also began to slowly recover under the powerful vitality of the true ancestor. A moment later, Wu Yan was once again in perfect condition. Looking at the flustered and guilty Yoshino in his arms, Wu Yan chuckled and rubbed Yoshino's head. "Don't worry, everything has to be done slowly. It's normal that Yoshino hasn't gotten used to it yet, but Yoshino, don't be afraid, even if Yoshino isn't here, I'm still here. Hearing this, Yoshino raised her head and looked at Wu Yan. Although there was still guilt in her big blue eyes, most of the fear and panic had disappeared. She touched Wu Yan's body, and only when she confirmed that Wu Yan was fine did Yoshino relax. Seeing this, Wu Yan also let out a sigh of relief. He looked around the hall that was almost frozen and the sofa that was already frozen. Hearing the approaching footsteps outside the door, he quickly waved his hand. A scarlet spatial ripple appeared in front of Yoshino's surprised eyes. The handle of the Xianxia extended out and was held in Wu Yan's hand. In the next second, following a soft muffled sound, the red lotus flame burned on the Xianxia. The temperature in the hall that was a bit cold due to Yoshino's ability immediately rose up. Yoshino's small body began to tremble. Seeing the red lotus flame on the Xianxia, Yoshino grabbed Wu Yan's clothes in fear. For Yoshino, who can control ice and water, the red lotus flame of the Xianxia is like her natural enemy. If Wu Yan wasn't holding her, Yoshino would have lost control again. He waved his hand that was holding the Xianxia in front of him. The red lotus flame exploded into sparks and landed on the sofa and various parts of the hall. After that, the thin ice disappeared at a speed visible to the naked eye. The strange thing was that when the thin ice disappeared, the red lotus flames also disappeared without a trace. They didn't damage anything in the hall at all. When all the thin ice disappeared, Wu Yan immediately put away the Xianxia and put the frightened Yoshino back on the sofa. At this time, at the entrance of the hall, the owners of the two voices finally appeared. It's Toka and Shirji. Saito. Toka squealed in delight. Back in the shelter, Shirori told her how dangerous it is outside after the spacequake alarm went off. That's why Toka has been worried about Wu Yan since a while ago. If it wasn't for Wu Yan's order that Toka must follow Shirori, and if it wasn't for Wu Yan's strength, Toka would have already gone out to look for him. Shirdao, you really came back. On the contrary, it was Shirji who had expected this. When I came in through the door and smelled your fragrance, I knew you were back. Ah, I'm so sorry for making you worry. Wu Yan scratched his cheek and smiled. At this time, Toka and Shirji also noticed Yoshino standing next to Wu Yan. The two girls were shocked and Wu Yan's heart skipped a beat. After all, in the original work, when Toka saw Yoshino with the main character, her reaction wasn't normal. Now, in a different place, the same thing is happening. Wu Yan can't help but worry that Toka will lose her temper. Why do you give me a familiar feeling? Toka's expression didn't change. She blinked her eyes and said with a bit of surprise, could it be that you're a Toka? Realizing that Toka probably guessed Yoshino's identity, Wu Yan quickly interrupted her. Are you hungry? I made a lot of delicious food for you. Toka's eyes lit up. She nodded her head and ignored Yoshino's identity. While Wu Yan was relieved, he couldn't help but feel confused. What's going on? In the original work, when Toka saw the main character with Yoshino, her jealousy went off the charts. Why didn't she react at all? Does Toka not have feelings for me? But I'm not worse than the main character in the original work. In fact, I'm much better. Wu Yan guessed wrong. In the original work, Toka was mad because Yoshino accidentally fell down and kissed Shido. Toka just happened to see it. Plus, Yoshino has a bad habit of going overboard when talking. That's why Toka almost went berserk. Since there's no drama here, Toka has no reason to be jealous. After all, Toka doesn't even know what love is. Chapter 450. What's your name? Shiori's blue pupils secretly glanced at Shiori, then immediately lowered her head and said in a small voice, I'm Shiori. Yono? What a cute name. Shiori smiled and moved closer. Hey Yono-chan, where's your family? Mom and dad? Family. Shiori couldn't help but raise her head and blinked her big eyes. She looked so cute that it almost made Shiori's eyes twinkle with stars. I have no family. Shiori flinched and the smile on her face slowly faded away. What replaced it was a look of pity. She turned around and looked at Wu Yan. Teto, is Yono an orphan? Wu Yan bitterly smiled at Shiori's words. She's right, at least Wu Yan never heard of elves having parents. You can say that. Shirji's face was suddenly filled with love. She looked at the four nuns with a strange look in her eyes. It was obvious that her motherly nature had been triggered. Then this child. Shirji hesitantly glanced at Sifu and frowned. Since Sifu was an orphan, Didn't that mean that this child might not have anywhere to go? It's no wonder Wu Yan brought Yono back. If she was in his shoes and met such a cute and lonely child, she wouldn't be able to resist the urge to bring her back. It's not just out of sympathy, it's also because a child with such good looks who has nowhere else to go would have a high chance of being targeted by human traffickers. Shiori didn't know that if Yono did encounter a human trafficker, unless Yono ran away as usual, the human trafficker would be turned into a popsicle. Kotori pitifully cried when she saw Shiori's intention to take Yono in. Sister, she's so pitiful, can we let her stay at home? In theory, Wu Yan is the one who can make the decisions in this house. However, this isn't Wu Yan's house, it's Shiori and Kotori's. So, it's better to let the head of the house make the decision. Shiori agreed without hesitation. Wu Yan, on the other hand, couldn't stay calm. He pulled Kotori's sleeve and whispered into her ear. Hey Kotori, don't tell me you want all the elves to live in our house? His warm breath made Kotori shiver. Not only did her ears turn red, her face turned red as well. Kotori almost ran away when she saw Wu Yan so close to her. After all, her first kiss was taken away by this so-called older brother last night. Kotori, who is in her younger sister mode, still can't face Wu Yan with a straight face. Kotori blushed and stammered. I can't do anything about it. The house for the elves isn't ready yet. I can only arrange for them to stay with us so that way we can observe them. Wu Yan rolled his eyes at Kotori when she stuttered. But he didn't mind. If Toka and Yoshino stayed here, it wouldn't matter to him. In fact, he might even be able to take advantage of them. From the very beginning, Yoshino had been observing the crowd's performance the entire time. To the timid Yoshino, this was the first time that she had personally interacted with so many people. However, at this time, Yoshino couldn't help but think that the three girls in front of him weren't as scary as he imagined. Moreover, each one of them was as gentle as Brother Sherdao. Hey, aren't you going to eat? Shido's cooking is the best. Toka kept stuffing food into her mouth. Ever since she discovered Yoshino's identity, Toka subconsciously felt close to her. After all, they're both elves. Yoshino lowered her head and whispered. I'm full. But you don't look like you're eating much. Toka said in a surprised manner. She stuffed a meat bun into her mouth and swallowed it. Wu Yan couldn't help but grumble inwardly. Do you think that everyone is a foodie like you? Since you're full, Yono-chan, do you want to take a bath with me? Shiori looked at Yoshino expectantly. Who knows if she was treating Yoshino as a real doll? Yoshino was shocked. She shook her head without hesitation. Shiori was disappointed, but she can't be blamed. Yoshino is afraid of strangers. It would be strange if she accepted Shiori's invitation to take a bath. However, fourth uncle's next words caused the people at the dining table to no longer be able to remain calm. I'll take a bath with Brother Shido. Toka and Kotori spat out their food at the same time. The food in their mouths exploded like fireworks on the table. Only Shiori, who didn't have any food in her mouth, managed to escape. As for Wu Yan, he wanted to spit out his food, but the food got stuck in his throat. Pounding his chest with all his might, Wu Yan hammered his chest so hard that it made pong-pong sounds. Finally, he managed to swallow the food in his mouth, but the result was him panting like a dead dog. But he didn't care about any of this. At this moment, he is looking at the reddened Yonko with an astonished expression. The expression in his eyes can only be described as marvelous. Yoshino wants to take a bath with him? This doesn't make sense. While Wu Yan was stunned, Toka and Kotori stood up and slammed their hands on the table. They shouted in unison. No, Shiori, who just regained her composure, was confused by the two girls' shouts. She looked at the two girls with a weird expression. She couldn't understand why they are so excited about Yoshino bathing with Wu Yan. Toka and Kotori blushed when they realized they overreacted. Kotori pursed her lips and looked at Yoshino. She decided to go all out. Oniine, how can you take a bath with Yoshino? Yoshino is a girl. Kotori looked at Wu Yan as if he's a pervert. Wu Yan almost flipped the table. Yoshino is the one who asked to take a bath together, not me. Toka's reason is much more straightforward. In any case, no means no. She looked at the furious Toka, the embarrassed Kotori, the flustered Yono, and the confused Wu Yan. She shook her head when she saw Wu Yan with a face full of all kinds of colors. I say, Yoshino is just a kid, why are you so agitated? But Kotori wanted to say something but she couldn't. She looked at Shirori with a weird expression. She remembered that on the surface, Wu Yan is still her long-lost brother. With such a big reaction at this time, it was only natural that people would find it strange. Kotori could only turn her head away and let out a muffled cry. I'm full. Toka wanted to imitate Kotori and get angry, but she couldn't bring herself to say, I'm full. In the end, Toka sat down with a dejected look on her face. She picked up the food on the table and started gobbling it up. Wu Yan was the only one left sitting there in a daze. Am I really going to take a bath with Yoshino? Chapter 451. Heavenly Palace City, Itsuka's house. In the bathroom, the steam from the hot water is spreading all over the place. The thick steam completely covered the bathroom, making it hard to see what's inside. Faintly, one could see two figures, one big and one small, swaying within the misty space. The people inside the bathroom are Wu Yan and Yoshino, who asked to take a bath with him. Sitting in the bathtub, Wu Yan subconsciously lowered his head. Yoshino is sitting in front of him with her back facing him. The place is shrouded in mist, but that didn't affect Wu Yan's appreciation of her beauty. In fact, due to the obscurity of the surroundings, Yoshino's petite figure is filled with a different kind of allure. At this time, Yoshino's long blue curly hair is tied into a ponytail, exposing her smooth white neck to the air. The water in the bathroom can't completely cover her smooth body, causing a certain wolf to almost lose control. Wu Yan's face is full of tears. Thinking back in the movie, Wu Yan was quite envious of the original protagonist Itsuka Shirdao, who can take a bath with several elf girls. He didn't expect Yoshino to give him such a big benefit as soon as she came. It made him realize that he will have such a day. Compared to the other elven girls, Wu Yan is the only one here. But it's better than nothing. Even if the one giving out the benefits is just a lowly, rubbing his itchy nose, Wu Yan can't help but look forward to it. Will this be the same as the original plot? After conquering Yoshino, will they go to the hot spring? If it's possible, just thinking about it, Wu Yan can't help but laugh. That, brother Shirdao. Yoshino couldn't help but speak, scaring a certain guy who was thinking about something improper. For a moment, Wu Yan thought his wishful thinking was seen through. What's wrong? Wu Yan's nervous voice came out of his mouth. Realizing his voice is trembling, Wu Yan can't help but scold himself for being useless. It's not like he hasn't taken a bath with his wife before. Ikaros was asked to take a bath with him almost every night. Why am I so nervous? Yoshino shyly said. No. I'm really sorry. Hearing that, Wu Yan froze. The nervous feeling in his heart also eased. He put his hands on Yoshino's head and helped her wash her hair. Wu Yan asked softly. Why are you apologizing? Because. Yoshino lowered her head. Her brother Shirdao. Wu Yan finally understood what's going on. This kid is still hung up over the incident where she accidentally injured him when she lost control of her emotions. Wu Yan shook his head and he pulled Yoshino closer to him. He asked her in a gentle voice. Didn't Yoshino already apologize to me? But, seeing Yoshino's expression, Wu Yan knew it's because Yoshino is someone who hates pain and fear. She doesn't want to bring pain and fear to others. She almost lost control in the hall and hurt herself. Maybe she's blaming herself. Wu Yan sighed. Yoshino, if it's Yoshino, would you apologize to her? Yoshino froze. She didn't expect Wu Yan to suddenly ask such a question. She blinked and pondered for a moment before shaking her head. Wu Yan shook his head as well when he saw the four nuns shaking their heads. He chuckled. Because Yoshino is Yoshino's hero. Yoshino has never said sorry to Yoshino, is that right? So you don't have to say sorry to me. Because when Yoshino isn't by Yoshino's side, your older brother is Yoshino's hero. Yoshino raised her head and looked at Wu Yan's wine-red eyes. She felt it was the most beautiful eyes in the world. Because Yoshino could see the love and tenderness in his eyes, Yoshino immediately lowered her head shyly. Yes. Seeing Yoshino lowering her head shyly, Wu Yan couldn't help but laugh. This girl is really cute. She's the same as Xiaofu. She's the type that people can't be cruel to and don't treat well. Hey Yoshino. After thinking for a moment, Wu Yan said to Yoshino. Do you really not want to bring pain and fear to others? Yes. Yoshino was silent. Then without the slightest hesitation he nodded his head. It could be seen that Yoshino truly hoped from the bottom of his heart that he wouldn't harm others. He also hoped that he wouldn't bring the emotions that he hated to others. Seeing Yoshino nod her head, Wu Yan closed his eyes. Soon after, as if he had made a decision, he suddenly opened his eyes. Yoshino, if your older brother has a way to make you not harm others, but the price is that you will lose all of your fairy powers, are you willing to do that? Yoshino's body trembled. She quickly turned around. Her large blue eyes were staring straight at Wu Yan's face. There was a trace of hope and hesitation in her eyes. Wu Yan didn't say anything. Just like that, he looked at Yoshino. Quietly, they looked at each other from a distance. It was as if they were communicating with their eyes. In fact, Wu Yan's heart was also very nervous. After all, Yoshino was easily scared. It wasn't easy for him to make Yoshino accept him. If this sudden request made Yoshino afraid, she might go berserk this time. If he didn't feel that his relationship with Yoshino had improved a lot, Wu Yan wouldn't dare to rashly ask such a question. Moreover, Wu Yan couldn't bear to see her lose control of her emotions and hurt others. Then he would secretly feel guilty. That would be too cruel. Therefore, Wu Yan decided to take a gamble. Fortunately, his gamble didn't seem to be in vain. At least, Yoshino didn't show any signs of fear. After a long time, Yoshino said a little anxiously, "Really, can I?" "There's hope." Wu Yan was happy. He nodded at Yoshino. Then he told Yoshino about the existence of the sealing ring and its effects. He didn't hide anything. After all, this is the condition for the sealing ring to take effect. After Wu Yan finished explaining, Yoshino raised her little nose and said with melancholy, "But my power is sealed." Yoshino. Shitono was an independent personality born from the spiritual energy of the four kinai. Only with the support of the spiritual energy of the four kinai could Shitono appear. If the power of the four kinai was lost, then Shitono was no different from being dead. In the original work, the reason why Yoshina could still appear after Yoshina's power was sealed was that after Shido sealed the power of the elf, an invisible connection would be formed between him and the elf. This connection would allow the elf to reverse the elf power stored in Shido's body when the elf lost control of his emotions. Because of this, Kotori was always worried that the elves would be in a bad mood and retrieve their elven power. At the same time, it's also because of this connection that Yoshino can extract a little bit of spiritual energy to maintain Yoshino's appearance. However, the sealing ring has no connection at all. But there's no problem with that. "Don't worry," Wu Yan said with a smile. "When you seal your power is sealed in your own body. Although you can't use it, it can be used to maintain Yoshino's appearance. If Yoshino can maintain Yoshino and prevent herself from hurting others," Yoshino no longer hesitated and nodded firmly. Wu Yan chuckled at this. Chapter 452. This is... Siwon looked at the sealing bracelet on her wrist with a bit of surprise. Her big blue eyes were filled with curiosity and surprise. She could feel that when the red bracelet was put on her wrist, the spiritual force in her body had completely sunk into her body. In the past, he could sense the water vapor and cold air all the time. At this moment, he could no longer sense them, let alone use them. Although he can feel the existence of the fairy's power, Yoshino can't use it if he wants to. Siwon knew that if she wanted to use the power of the past again, she would have to get the consent of the man who was connected to her fate. There was no other way. Towards such a situation, Shino did not have any thoughts of resisting. Instead, he was faintly happy. In this way, he would no longer do excessive things to everyone when his mind was in a mess. After sealing Yoshino's energy, Wu Yan let out a sigh of relief and smiled. But when he saw the row of sealing bracelets on his wrist, Wu Yan bitterly smiled. The sealing bracelet paired with Flandrachan, Toka paired with Yakuni, and the sealing bracelet paired with Toka. The 3 white sealing bracelets took up almost half of Wu Yan's right wrist. This is just the beginning. Kotori and Tokisaki Kurumi might have their own bracelets in the future. When that time comes, 5 sealing bracelets might fill up his entire right wrist. Wearing 5 bracelets would definitely look out of place, wouldn't it? Sighing, Wu Yan muttered to himself. "Forget it, I'll just wear it as a wrist guard." Speaking of which, when the sealing bracelets are linked together, it does look a bit like a wrist guard. "How do you feel? You should be able to get used to it, right?" Wu Yan grinned at Yoshino. He no longer has to worry about her losing control like before. Yoshino slowly nodded, but then she shook her head. She opened her mouth, but she didn't know how to describe her feelings. For a moment, she revealed a conflicted expression. Wu Yan laughed when he saw this. Wu Yan pulled Yoshino in front of him and said with a smile. Well, you can slowly experience it in the future. After all, no one will attack you anymore. Come on, big brother will help you wash your hair. For some reason Wu Yan's tone is a little perverted when he said this. Yoshino blushed and lowered her head to let Wu Yan wash her hair. The two people who were immersed in their own world did not notice that at some point outside the bathroom, the door leading to the changing room behind the glass door was quietly opened at this moment. Outside the door, a young girl with dark purple hair and a bow-tied hairband sneakily stuck her head in. Her amethyst-like eyes scanned the entire space before she tiptoed into the room and closed the door. The person who came in was none other than Toka. She glanced at the glass door of the bathroom not far away and then scanned the changing room. When she saw Wu Yan's clothes in a basket, she couldn't help but feel angry. What is Shido doing? Is he really taking a bath with Yoshino? Zhou Xian couldn't help but clench her fists tightly. Her little feet were also constantly stomping on the ground. It was obvious that Zhou Xian was in a terrible mood right now. Fortunately, Toka's power is sealed in the sealing ring. If it's the same as the original, Toka's power would have flowed back due to her bad mood. The result would be that the entire bathroom would be turned into a pile of rubble. However, when 10 Incense raised her head and was about to go to the glass door to check out the situation, she inadvertently glanced at a corner. 10 Incense's mouth fell open. You. 10 Fragrance's voice involuntarily rose a little. Just as she was about to scream, a hand suddenly covered her mouth, blocking the rest of her voice. Shoo. Kotori made a serious gesture and pointed at the glass door. It was clear what she meant. Toka blinked and nodded. Kotori sighed in relief and let go of Toka's mouth. The two looked at each other, one red and one purple eyes had a strange expression. Toka is confused. She's confused as to why Kotori is here. She's here because Wu Yan and Yoshino are taking a bath together. It made her feel uncomfortable. Kotori is here too. Does she feel uncomfortable? As for Kotori, she's embarrassed that her behavior was discovered. She can't explain it to Toka, but it's true that she felt uncomfortable when she heard that Wu Yan and Yoshino are taking a bath together. The two women had a tacit understanding and didn't talk at this time. Instead, after they looked at each other, they went to the bathroom's glass door and leaned their ears against it. That, Shido Gij, what's wrong? No, we're here. No, why? It hurts. Bear with it, it'll be over soon, yes. Kotori and Toka immediately widened their eyes. Kotori felt a fire burning in her heart as she listened to the conversation and strange sounds coming from the glass door. Toka bit her lips. Her face was filled with anger, causing her mind to go blank. Unable to hold back her anger, Toka pushed the glass door open. Kotori, who was leaning against the door, screamed and fell to the ground. She angrily looked into the bathroom. Tears hung from the corners of her eyes as she shouted, Dao, what are you doing? After shouting, Toka was stunned and couldn't speak anymore. Not only Toka but Kotori on the ground and the two people in the bathroom were also stunned. You. Wu Yan pressed his hand on Itsuno's head. He looked at the two uninvited guests. He didn't know how to react. Yoshino blushed and she dipped her head into the water. The moment she moved, Yoshino yelped in pain and she covered her head. Wu Yan's hand that was pressing down on her head is now tangled with her hair. Kotori was the first to understand what happened. Wu Yan's hand got tangled with Itsuno's hair when he was washing her hair. Kotori felt awkward. She replayed the scene in her mind when she overheard the conversation between the two. Her face started to burn up. Toka, on the other hand, was stunned for a moment. When she saw the two naked in the bathtub, she got even angrier. She stomped her foot and yelled, Shido! What are you doing? Wu Yan gulped. Inside he's complaining. Is Toa really jealous now? However, this thought completely flew out of his mind when he heard 10 Incense's next sentence. All that was left was the thick shock on his face. Toka glared at Itsuno and yelled, I want to bathe with you. Wu Yan's mouth turned into a no shape. His eyes were wide open. He couldn't stay calm. Kotori crawled up from the ground and was also bombarded by Toka's bold words. She couldn't get up from the ground again. Wu Yan was confused. He only had one thought left in his mind. I'm lucky. You're tuning in to the Zhou Xian's Legacy YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.